Electricity and telephone.
Good afternoon. British sports fans will be pleased that there are no Australian drivers in the Grand Prix this afternoon. It'll be a nice change to be beaten by the Germans or the Colombians. Still, our boys will be perfectly at home with the weather. It's hot and sunny at Hockenheim this afternoon.
2001. But now the heat is on in Germany for today's Formula One Grand Prix.
In association with Texaco.
Montoya find the missing 10th and a half in a 4.25 mile racetrack. Over the line he goes then. Yes, he does, incredibly.
He could just be Formula One's next superstar. Pole position for the Colombian, Juan Pablo Montoya in the Williams.
You never think about, oh, I'm going to win tomorrow or anything. You just work as hard as you can, and if it comes, it'll be brilliant.
Montoya's driving into a red tide at Hockenheim. The country's sporting hero, Michael Schumacher, has massive support going into the German Grand Prix. Hello there, welcome to our ITV studio. It is race day. Like many of you back home, we are absolutely steaming here. 28 degrees, a bit overcast. Humidity, though, is through the roof. OK, then 6 races to go now. Michael Schumacher's 4th world title. That'll be confirmed if he wins just 2 of them. David Coulthard starts behind him on the 3rd row. Ralf Schumacher up front with Montoya. Montoya's gone quickest in warm-up. It's an all-Williams front 2, and Häkkinen has qualified 3rd. Meantime, Ferrari steaming towards their 3rd successive Constructors' Crown. Häkkinen in '98, McLaren's only win here in 10 years. Williams, though, in great shape. Both Saubers in the top 10. And Jordan, well, they have been rocked by the sacking of Heinz-Harald Frentzen just before his home Grand Prix. Absolutely delighted to welcome BMW's Gerhard Berger alongside Tony Jardine. Now, Gerhard, your engines, I mean, they're producing at the moment, both on the front row in the Williams. Fantastic.
They're good, huh?
Are they going to last, though? That's the big question. You've had a few breakdowns.
That's even our question.
Yeah.
We don't know, but we're going to see in 2 hours, we're going to know. Well, now we have a great engine performance the whole season already. But I have to say, to get 2 cars in the first row is not just on the engine. We have a fantastic partner with Williams. He did a really great job with the car this year. He's developing consistently. We are improving consistently. Also, Michelin, great first season in and giving us on some circuits tires what are really brilliant. So this weekend everything worked out well, and we could transfer it into a good result.
Well, of course, Tony, Michael Schumacher's Ferrari doesn't have Michelin tyres, and he feels that's a big difference here this weekend.
He does feel it's a big difference, but he knows how strong the package is, and he accepts that to a degree. And we might see another conservative race from him, just looking for the points. They had some problems with the wheels locking up, but that was about it, really.
Never made pole at the German Grand Prix, Michael Schumacher, and he never looked like doing it, did he?
No, he didn't. I think
it was 97 or 94, I don't remember anymore. I did the race here, you know, and when you came into the Motordrome, everything was yellow. But I was leading then the race in the Ferrari, and in the middle of the race, suddenly the Motordrome was red. They put out the caps, the red caps.
Brilliant. Well, it's all red here this weekend, that's for absolutely sure. But Ralf Schumacher, Michael's younger brother, in your Williams, his best ever qualifying performance here in Hockenheim, superb.
Yeah, well, both drivers basically the same lap time. They are both in great shape. Even this morning in the warm-up, both was pushing and both did the same lap time again. So I think we're going to see an interesting race.
Apart from Silverstone, Ralf has gone very well in qualifying throughout the season, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's very strong this year. He over the winter, he changed a bit. His way of working is great. He used really all the potential of his car and the team. So he's very strong. and he had some great results this year.
And Juan Pablo Montoya, the Colombian, a newcomer in Formula One this season, and his first pole, Gerhard.
Yeah, it's very interesting. He's really, he's a very aggressive driver, very, very talented. Not always yet able to use his potential to the optimum, but it's clear. I mean, he just had a half season in Formula One now. But I'm absolutely sure he's going to be one of the guys for the future, and thanks that we have him in the team.
Yeah, at the end of the qualifying session, Luciano Berti made sure that nobody could put in a quick lap, didn't he?
Yeah, the yellow flags came out and spoiled a few. It saved a few tyres for other people, but he has had a few scares this year, including throttles sticking open on that car in Monte Carlo when he went down the escape road. He made a mistake at the Jim Clark chicane, and he was trying to make up for it, but he tried too hard, and that was the result.
OK, Tony, it is race 12 of F1 2001. Take us through the grid.
Well, it's all BMW front row, the first one since '86. This fellow was on the front row alongside Teo Fabi, who was one of his teammates yonks ago. But we're going to see a great battle, hopefully, between these two BMW Williams teammates. We're really looking forward to that. Hakkinen still in the groove after his British Grand Prix win, and Michael Schumacher accepting the situation, but out for points, we feel today. Coulthard missed the Monza test through food poisoning. He's suffering. The car is oversteering. Top speed problems, said Barrichello. Now, there's the two Sauber drivers together. Raikkonen had problems getting the car over the curbs, but still done a great job. Della Rosa ahead of his teammate Irvine. Irvine was expecting 8th, 7th, something like that, but the car is improving nonetheless. The two popular Frenchmen alongside each other, Alesi and Panis. And then Zonta, he didn't do very well. He's down in 15th place alongside his South American teammate Berti, the one we saw crashing the tour. And then on the 9th row, the two Benetton drivers sharing the problems together and the row, Button and Fisichella, the two Arrows drivers together, and at the back, Fernando Alonso, now 20 years old, and Tasso Marquez.
Now, Gerhard, what's it like when you're on pole for the first time, if you can remember that far back? Any particular problems that pose?
Well, especially in Montoya's case, he's very cool. I mean, he's been on several important races already on pole, so it's not really the first time for him. But in Formula One, yes, and of course, it's always a good position to start on pole, and I think you have a good chance to be first in first corner, and then it's already a great advantage to everyone else.
One of his early problems this season, he was trying to over-impress. He told me he felt he was over-driving in those early races.
I think he puts himself a bit too much under pressure. He wants to come into the game and be already in the first race the new superstar. But we all see that he has a great talent, and it's just a question when he's going to be ready to use it the whole time. So he overdriven sometimes the car this year. He did several mistakes, but he still showed a better potential than most of the other drivers I've ever seen before in the game.
He wasn't driving, but he was a passenger in an RAF Tornado recently. I don't know if you know, RAF and Marham in Norfolk took him up. There he is, Juan Pablo. Went 500 miles an hour, a little round trip for him, and I think he obviously enjoyed the experience. You probably got your own private jet, Gerhard, I don't know if you actually
yeah, but
one of those.
Unfortunately, I never had the possibility to try this one, and I'm still looking to be in white ones, because I think it's a great experience.
Well, knowing those fellows at RAF Marham, I think you probably get the invite in the post by tomorrow. Let's just have a look at what's going on in
I'm going to inform you.
in the Williams garage over there in your absence, and there we are with what just under or 3/4 of an hour or so to go to the race. Really is great to see Williams back at the sharp end of Formula One after a barren spell that must have seemed like an eternity to them. Don't forget that Ralf Schumacher's won a couple of races at Montreal and at Imola, but here at Hockenheim, Juan Pablo Montoya is the main man.
Formula One's new sensation has finally done it. Montoya's delivered on the potential we saw at the start of the season with his first Formula One pole.
It was a good lap, yeah. I was a bit down in Sector 2. And in the last lap I got Sector 1 very similar to the first lap, and Sector 2 really pulled it together, and I was very pleased with that.
While their speed is certainly there, Williams need to perfect their strategies. At Magny-Cours and at Silverstone, Juan Pablo's two-stop race was ruined by his teammate, a one-stopping Ralf Schumacher. Ralf couldn't get past Rubens Barrichello, and he refused to let Montoya through to have a go at the Ferrari. This despite the instructions of the team on the pit wall. So why did the strategies go astray?
There's not a lot to explain about. I think do better ask Patrick.
There was a short period out on the track where we felt that Juan's progress was being limited.
And was it recommended to Ralph that he let Juan Pablo through?
A reasonable suggestion was made that he might do so, but he said that he was in good shape and felt he could overpass Rubens anyway, so there's no serious friction about it.
Some positive friction is happening within the Williams Michelin tyres. They prefer higher track temperatures and are working superbly in the Hockenheim heat. Something the team will be concerned about is the reliability of the powerful BMW engine. We always see plenty of blow-ups here, and there will be more this afternoon. So it all comes down to a duel between the drivers of the two fastest cars in Hockenheim. Montoya and Schumacher have made some brilliant starts in recent races, but both will have to avoid any first-lap contact.
Yeah, I mean, if everything works as normal, we should be first and second in the first corner, shouldn't we?
But Tony, he will remember what happened to Michael Schumacher at that first corner here last year.
Yeah, well, Coulthard was on pole position, and Coulthard was determined to block Michael Schumacher, who's alongside him on the front row. You watch the move that Coulthard makes, he went diving across just to block him. While he did that, he left that huge gap. Hakkinen went through. Michael then moved across in his one move right into the path of Fisichella. In my opinion, Fisichella had nowhere to go, and Michael, this was one of the third, look at that, straight into Fisichella. Giancarlo nowhere to go, off they both went, and you can see the view there that Giancarlo had, straight into the barriers. And that was one of 3 races that Michael didn't finish, letting Hakkinen back into the championship, and we had a great run into the finish there.
What thoughts do you have about your 2 cars at this year's start?
Well, of course, start is always a very critical moment, and I mean, what's happened here between Michael and another team, okay, that's racing accidents, but the dangerous one is always that your 2 cars have had this problem, but we've seen already before too. So, of course, we are sure that we have 2 intelligent drivers to get around the first corner. But
perhaps 2 intelligent drivers who aren't the best of mates.
No, they are not sharing the room yet, but they're talking each other, so it's okay. Yeah. Actually, we are not looking for the 2 best friends in Formula 1. We're looking for the 2 most competitive drivers. And we know from the past, if you remember back, Nigel Mansell and Nelson Piquet, you know, we know that's sometimes quite fun to watch.
Yeah, but there are a couple of races that Juan Pablo might have felt he could have won if Ralph had let him through, and Patrick Head sort of stammered a little bit when he was asked about whether orders given.
Well, but the game works in a different way. It's not a game where the one says to the other one, come past me and go and win the race.
Sure. I mean, Juan Pablo this morning, before warm-up, absolutely super cool, wasn't he? I mean, he was wandering around with his Spanish girlfriend, Connie. Half an hour warm-up, and for 25 minutes, that was him, wasn't it? And then he goes out and, oh, it's all a bit dull, this, isn't it? But he went quickest in warm-up. Hey?
Nice.
But that's one-upmanship, Gerhard, isn't it?
I mean, I have to say, Jean Pablo, for him, the pole position was very important because he was leaking a bit confidence. As he had some difficult races, Ralph been very strong, very close with the team because he's already several years in. So for him, results like yesterday gives him a lot of confidence, and you can see he's quiet today, and and they're gonna make him stronger.
How confident are you, 1-2 in qualifying, you're going to be 1-2 in the German Grand Prix?
Well, that's always the point. In racing, in motor racing, especially in Formula 1, you never know what's happened. You know, okay, nobody can deck from us the pole position here or the first row, but now the race is a new game. Michael, sure, as we know, in the race he usually is still strong. Mika, I'm going to see very strong. We're going to fight. Let's see what comes out.
Just finally, do you get the impression with Michael that he's going to be racing more for position than winning the race as he did at Silverstone?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he has a different agenda, and for him it's important to stay ahead of David and to collect some more points. It's clear. Mika gonna give everything. He's gonna really fight for it. David has to give everything, and I'm sure our 2 guys gonna do.
Okay. We always appreciate your company over here, Gerhard. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Yes, one.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thank you.
See you soon. Okay. Well, shall we hear from a couple of the drivers who are going to start behind the Williams front two? Mika Hakkinen actually seems in a pretty decent mood.
Really pleased. I think big thanks for the engineers, finding a good setup since from yesterday. They found really good things for the car, and you can see it. We were definitely best Bridgestone car out there, and I was happy. You know, I had a really good car to drive today.
the car is difficult to drive, and an aggressive driving style with a car which is a bit wayward is usually not a good thing. So I think I need to be cautious, play myself into the race and see where we are, and opportunities arise, and obviously I'll be hopefully there to take them.
I'm not surprised they're up front. I'm a little bit surprised by the margin, but all I have to do in this moment is to look what is David doing, honestly, in terms of championship. On the other side, where he is, I hope I can concentrate a little bit to the front.
Well, Gerhard Berger thinks he's going to be racing for position, perhaps not for that 51st Grand Prix victory. That is Michael Schumacher's overall record. Absolutely fantastic. And, of course, the 1999 season curtailed after the accident at Silverstone. So he's trying to match the Professor, Alain Prost, all-time record, 51 Grand Prix victories. By the way, win number 51 for the Frenchman. That was right here for Williams in '93. But Michael Schumacher has not prospered at Hockenheim. It's just one win in 8 starts. So then the world champion didn't get beyond the first corner last year. We still, though, saw a Ferrari triumph, and very emotional it was as well. Rubens Barrichello's first win in 124 starts.
You are watching a sensational drive being completed with Rubens Barrichello from Sao Paulo, Brazil, winning for Ferrari, and he's done it! Superb!
Rubens, when you look out on the Hockenheim circuit, does it bring back some happy memories for you?
Oh, I tell you, I mean, my first run on Friday was the lap after the last lap last year, and it was fantastic, a fantastic feeling. I mean, just to look at the numbers and to look at previous winners, you see all the big names, and I'm there.
It really was your finest hour, wasn't it?
It was the best moment of my life. I mean, it was a pity that my family wasn't here, because I wish on the podium that I could send the message to them. I think I did, because I couldn't stop crying. I had such a difficult time in between, the death of Ayrton and the times where people didn't believe on my driving, and then I had to start all over again on stewards, and I'm a Ferrari driver, and I won the race the way I wanted to win. I mean, coming from the back, nobody gave me anything. I just won it. So it was such a moment.
I bet you still watch the video, don't you?
15 times, and I cannot still. I still cry. That's the most amazing thing.
When you still watch it?
I see it so many times, and I say, okay, this time I'll be okay, and then oh. When I signed for Ferrari, knowing that I would have Michael as a teammate, I couldn't be an emotional person. I had to be German, and that's the way when I put the helmet, that's the way I consider myself.
How much have you learned from Michael?
Well, a lot and zero, because how can you learn from Michael? You can learn that you're going out of the pits, he's on the limit all the time, so he has so much talent driving the car that he's on the limit, and so you learn from that. But in terms of setup, in terms of sheer speed, it's nothing to learn. We both improve the whole time. We both are on the very limit of the car in different ways.
The team is so geared around him. Do you sometimes get fed up with playing second fiddle?
I don't consider myself being a number 2, but everything is around him. Sometimes the meeting just goes surrounding him, and I take my chair and I sit in there instead of saying, hey, here's Rubens. But that's how it goes in Ferrari, and that's mentally I'm getting more stronger, more, because I feel that one time is going to be my chance.
So life is quite sweet for Rubens Barrichello at the moment.
Yeah, I feel so. I mean, I'm driving the best I can, and I'm sure it's going. I'm putting my head on the pillow and I'm sleeping, so that's the most important thing.
He's keeping okay. He blubs when he watches the video. I mean, F1 has got a heart.
Oh, he has. He's a wonderful bloke, and he can go into floods of tears. You've always got to have the wet weather tyres ready for him. But, he's a super bloke. He started off the year quite aggressively, and he didn't get anywhere. He was crashing. He got into trouble with the team. He's been re-signed. He's a lot happier now. But in his heart of hearts, he knows he's number 2, as you say, like on this.
How does that work? He says, well, I'm not really number 2, but Ferrari, whenever he does interviews, they go, there's your hat, Rubens, and by the way, it's got a big 2 on the top.
Because, you know, he's the support driver, and if there's a problem with Michael, then he'll be in there and he'll luck into a win, as he did last year, but it was deserved.
Well, last year Barrichello won after starting 18th on the grid. He is 6th this afternoon. Hockenheim, always a compromise between the 210-mile-an-hour straights and picking your way around the stadium complex. A flying lap now with Barrichello and Martin Brundle.
Hold tight, you're about to average nearly 150 miles an hour with Barrichello onto the pit straight, tightens his seatbelt slightly, up to 180 miles an hour before turn 1. Bumpy on the way and do not hit that curb on the right. Sweep as wide as you dare through the exit and heading out into the country. Don't look wide, don't look up, don't look at those trees, pretend they're not there. You're doing over 210 miles an hour. Take a line with as little bumps as possible and choose a braking point down into that first chicane. There it is now. Just 70 miles an hour through the slowest part. Lean on the curbs, especially on the way out. Now, you're going to build up 7th gear again, well over 210 miles an hour before that second chicane. Barrichello with a little green light just flashing on the dashboard to say change gear, does so finally. You're into a cul-de-sac. Look for the little curb on the right-hand side. Calm and tidy through the first part. On the throttle hard through the second and final part, over 130 miles an hour already. Sweep wide. Take the nice, easy line, bring the car over to the right-hand side, ready for that third chicane, over 210 again. Advertising hoardings on the right. Choose a braking point, there it is now, and launch across the curves. Anything you can find, curb, green concrete, anything to keep some forward motion going. Stay on the right-hand side, it's much, much less bumpy down there, over 200 miles an hour this time, heading towards the stadium. The first part is the Ajip curve, 4th gear, 105 miles an hour. Always surprises you. The car sliding slightly wide. Now you're in the amphitheatre at the final part of the lap. Sachs curve, 160 down to just 55. Barrichello correcting the back end of the car as he applies the horsepower. Short shifts through the small chicane to keep the wheel spin down. Now Sud curve 1, 80 miles an hour, up to 120. Back down to 80 miles an hour again. Not as fast as it looks. And then over the start-finish line now.
What a ride around the quickest circuit we've visited so far. Well, Barrichello and Martin used to be colleagues at Jordan, and their old team caused quite a stir when out of the blue, Heinz-Harald Frentzen, the most successful driver ever, was dismissed in the week before his home race.
And John and Heinz-Harald Frentzen win.
The happy days of '99 long forgotten. Heinz-Harald Frentzen sacked from his job just 2 days before his home Grand Prix. His replacement, the less experienced Ricardo Zonta. The news stunned the F1 world.
Clearly this season, despite the fact that there were occasions where we qualified particularly well, we were not able to maximise some of the opportunities that were presented to us. And Heinz and I had a very clear difference of opinion about many of the different things that were happening. And on that basis, I decided that I was no longer able to continue that way. If it's going to be long-term gain for Heinz or for Jordan, then it needed to be done straight away. And I think we all know that prolonging things that aren't going to work or don't seem to be able to work, or in the short term, clearly we're not going to work. The only way was to finish it there and then and move on.
There's no doubt that Heinz-Harald was going through a run of poor form. He started from 5th on the grid at Silverstone, but finished down in 7th in the race, despite 2 drivers dropping out ahead of him. He was also losing the fight against teammate Jarno Trulli, the Italian out-qualifying him 9 times. The only word from Heinz-Harald himself has been this statement. In it, he says he contests the reasons given for his termination in their entirety. He continues, "My position in this matter is now under legal advice. Due to the current situation, I'm unable to make any further comment at this time." Meanwhile, at Hockenheim, he's left a load of fans with no one to cheer for. So where might he find another drive? One destination could have been Toyota, who joined Formula One next year, but that now appears to be a distant possibility. The only other option is if one of F1's midfield teams get rid of an existing driver and throw Frentzen a lifeline. As for the Jordan seat, test driver Zonta has a chance to stake his claim if he races well today, although his qualifying performance of 15th won't have helped. We may well be seeing other drivers in the number 11 Jordan before the end of the season.
So, Tony, the guessing game starts. Who's it going to be? I mean, Lacey's just been mentioned this morning.
Well, this is the latest rumour, so I went over to check that out with the Italian press. They're definitely writing that he will fill into the end of the season. Of course, links with the Team 89 Formula 3000 champion. Does that mean that Heinz-Harald Frentzen is then going to be put in his place at the Prost? We don't know. Frenzen's somewhere here out on the circuit. Apparently, he's going to jump out as a protester later on, probably in front of the Jordan
But you think
cars.
Sato, perhaps the Japanese driver, he's got a shout?
Well, yeah, potentially he has. The long-term plan is to get some young superstar in there. Maybe move closer to Honda with Sato, but also maybe look at Alonso. Maybe some sort of swap deal because Briatore manages Alonso. This young 20-year-old is a very exciting prospect. He's another one who's in the frame apparently.
But Jordan, what a weekend they've been having. I mean, if you're a Jordan fan, you're not going to enjoy watching any of this.
No, you're not. The team are not enjoying it. They're not enjoying going in and out of the circuit. Honda not enjoying it, blowing up there for truly a problem. I mean, they used to have, and he was not given the right directions to go back to the pits and didn't make it back for the spare car for qualifying by the marshals, who was upset there. They used to have this hissing snake on the side of the car. And now the team have been here in Hockenheim running the gauntlet. There's Zonta going off. And he was only in 15th place. And a warm-up, they've been going off as well. Zonta did it again, and he's driving very tentatively. And they are being hissed at here. The crowd are hissing, they're booing, the signs are there, Jordan, go home. And Eddie Jordan said, I know what it feels like now to be a football team manager when you run that sort of gauntlet of hate. But he said, I can understand it. If I was an Irishman coming to the Irish Grand Prix and they'd removed the Irish hero just before, he said, I'd be upset too.
It poses all sorts of problems, doesn't it, Hockenheim, for the cars. You've got that big straight and then this little stadium complex.
And this is Alonso, the man we're talking about, and then De La Rosa driving very carefully because he felt loose left front. You see the wheel nut just coming off there, so he saved some damage very well. But it is difficult. It is very high speed, and then you've got this infield section where you need the compromises. And then also Tarso Marquez, who went off. Now the team, Paul Stoddart and his team, have tested this Alex Young, this Malaysian, who may well replace Marquez before the end of the season. And that would be the first Malaysian in Grand Prix racing, which would also be very exciting for the sport.
Cheers, Tony. Thank you very much indeed. So Jordan very much on the back foot, but despite their problems in warm-up, Jaguar really look as though they are going places at the moment. Encouraging signs from them. They've been working very hard on the aerodynamics aspect of their car. De La Rosa 9th, Eddie Irvine 11th. That their best qualifying performance of the year.
The new aero package, which first appeared on the Jaguars at Silverstone, is paying dividends this weekend. It helped De La Rosa to record his best ever qualifying performance for the team.
I love qualifying when the car is good and you give it 100%. I've been driving quite well today. We've gone back to Eddie's setup because it was better and it's proved to be quicker.
I think you have to really give credit to the aero team, who have worked very hard all year long. You know, this is all about drag, this place, and probably at the start of the year we might have had the draggiest car out there. And we've polished on this pretty hard, and it's getting pretty, relatively good. But we have a long way to go yet, obviously. But I'm quite pleased.
The boss might be pleased, but Eddie Irvine is frustrated and slightly confused. His race pace is getting more and more impressive as the year goes on, and he topped the timesheets here on Friday. But once again, Eddie wound up disappointed at the end of the qualifying hour.
We don't understand how we can be 2 seconds off the Williams in qualifying and then run the same pace as them in the race, or near. I don't think we'll run the same pace as them here, but we're just trying to build up a picture of what's going on, to be honest, because at the minute we're a bit confused.
Certainly every driver wants to be up front, but you know what you've got. And am I happy being 9th? No. Or should I say, am I satisfied with it? No. But do I know what it takes to get up to the front? Well, I thought we had a car that was going to get us 7th. 7th is as good as we're going to be right now. I mean, that's just the reality. Because we're not going to out-qualify Ferraris, the Williams, or the McLarens. So you got to be realistic. And Pedro was almost 7th, so I think that's pretty good.
Realistic view then from Bobby Rahal. Interesting that Eddie Irvine saying the Jaguar's the best handling car he's ever driven around here, bearing in mind he won here for Ferrari when this fella Michael Schumacher was recovering from his Silverstone smash a couple of years ago. We will be right back with Martin Brundle grid walking, and then there is Ross Kemp. The finished article, from novice mechanic to the real thing. A pit stop at the British Grand Prix.
Tom Walkinshaw, yesterday you announced that Arrows will have Cosworth engines for two... Wait a second. We're just going to wait while Jos Verstappen comes out the garage. Back to you, Tom. Yesterday it was announced that you have Cosworth engines for Arrows next year. What can you tell us about the deal? Sounds good.
Well, obviously, just what you've said, we've got the same spec of engine as in the factory Jaguar. We're very happy about that. It's a really good engine, and I think that'll make a big difference to the team.
Obviously, with Cosworth, there will be an ongoing development programme through the season. Was that one of the most attractive features?
Well, I think that the Cosworth engine is probably one of the best 3 engines in Formula 1 at the moment. So it brings with a whole host of advantages. You know, it's light, it runs hot, got a lot of power, and of course you've got a major manufacturer behind it, constantly developing it. So these are all good things.
Good stuff. Thanks very much, Tom.
On 17, please, Nigel. 17, okay. Then 211. That's correct. We have 5 minutes to get him out the pit lane. Good.
Paul Stoddart, we've just seen Fernando Alonso's car pushed off, having had a fire. He's getting into the spare car. Is it set up for him or for Tarso Marquez, and will he get it here in time?
It is set up for him, and yes, he's just about to depart now, so no problems. We'll have to investigate afterwards, find out what the fire was caused by. At this point, we don't know.
And the fire broke out only once he was stationary here on the grid position?
Yeah, always the cars are fueled to the maximum. It'll probably turn out to be something relatively simple, but thank goodness it happened here.
Not the best of birthday treats, but best of luck. Thank you.
The race, and another German as well. Nick Heidfeld, around 5'6". He's been joking around with 7'1" Los Angeles Lakers Shaquille O'Neal. Heidfeld, though, a young man with a big future.
With one less German driver on the grid, even more attention has been focused on Nick Heidfeld this weekend. Sauber's baby-faced teammates have been the revelation of the season, but they still happily joined in with a group of school children celebrating the first day of the holidays.
It was a bit like a preschool outing out there today, wasn't it, all those kids?
Yeah, but normally I like to do this kind of things with children because they enjoy it so much. You see their eyes sparkling if they get a signature, and it's really fun.
Did you always want to be a Grand Prix driver?
Yeah, I think from when I started, when I was 8 or 9 years old in karting, I dreamt of being a Formula 1 driver.
Why did you get into karting in the first place, though?
My father loved motor racing, and I also started with motocross when I was 5 years old. Then I stopped 2 years after because it was a bit dangerous. And then we always wanted to go to a rental car, but I wasn't allowed to drive anywhere because I was too small. And then first time at the Nürburgring I was allowed to drive. I had two tires in the back and just reached the pedals. Then my father told me to follow him, and he was a bit too slow, and then I overtook him, and then we tried it on some other circuit, and then after a couple of weeks we bought our own kart, and that's how it started.
Is your father still and your family still involved in your career?
Well, not so much anymore now, but definitely they were very, very important, because if you start karting with 8 or 9 years, you need a family to support you. It was a hobby for him as it was a hobby for my brother and me, karting. He was a mechanic, and he did the catering and all that stuff, and he really liked that.
Do they come along to the races?
Not each race, but sometimes, yeah.
But your girlfriend comes to a lot of the races?
Yeah, also not to all of them. She wasn't there at the beginning of the year because the team didn't want it to happen.
And what was that all about?
Yeah, that was a bit strange. I mean, the media made a bit of a different story out of it. They said that we were forbidden to have sex before the race, but basically Peter just didn't want us to be disturbed for the first couple of races because it was a new team and all this stuff, but now it's fine.
How'd you get on with Kimi?
It's okay. He's a very tough competitor, but we are pushing each other. I think we have a normal kind of relationship.
What's normal?
We are not the best friends, I think, but we also don't have any problems.
You seem as though you get on quite well. You're quite relaxed in each other's company.
Yeah, it's fine. I never had big problems with any teammate so far, and I think away from the circuit it's a bit easier for both of us because we are not fighting so hard, and we can have some fun together.
Heidfeld can have some fun from the fourth row. You're going to have some fun now, Martin, from pole position.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the grid here in Germany. What do you want to know? Well, I guess you want to know, can these Williams stay ahead of the pack? I'm going to try and go over to our man Juan Pablo. Last time we went to speak to him on the grid, he blanked us completely. Let's have another try. I don't blame him because it's like, you know, stepping up to Beckham just before he's about to take a penalty and asking him for an interview. But anyway, we'll give it a try. Juan Pablo, how does it feel? Congratulations on your first Formula One pole. How's it feeling?
Pues Martin, estoy muy contento. Yo creo que las cosas se dieron muy bien y pues no sé. What do you think of that?
Sí, es muy bien. Gracias, gracias para todo. And in English, you know, in your own language?
No, I think it was really good. I'm really happy. The car worked really well. And, you know, we have to wait and see what happens. You know, hopefully we make a good start. We'll play from there.
All right, so what's going through your mind then right now, apart from having to talk to me, which is a nuisance? What's really in your mind? Tell the viewers.
Well, nothing much, really. Just wait and see what happens. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. You know, what's going to happen is going to happen. You can't change it, so just get on with it.
I mean, really cool. You seem almost bored. You seem like, oh, come on, let's get rid of all this rubbish and get on with the game.
You know, it's a lot of waiting here, but I think it's going to be quite a good race. I think Ralph and myself will look very competitive, and, you know, we'll see how we compare with everybody else.
So can you race, Ralph, today? What's the team said to you? What has Sir Frank said to you?
There's no rules or team order or anything. Just go for it, both of us.
So you got all the German crowd here sort of, you know, watching, and you've got to beat the two Schumacher brothers, and the McLarens look reasonably strong in the warm-up.
Yeah, they look quite good, so we have to wait and see what, you know, on race field, what everybody's going to have.
You were super cool this morning. You only intended to drive 7 minutes of the warm-up, yeah?
Yeah, that's what we needed to do, and, you know, we want to save the car for the rest as much as we can.
So is there something a little bit on the limit then? Is there something that can concern you a bit?
No, you know, last race we had some problems, but we decided just to go as safe as we can. We don't really think nothing's going to happen, but, you know, more laps you save, more laps you'll do in the race.
All right, thanks for talking to us. Really appreciate your time. Let's wander along and see. There's this really enormously tall geezer I'd like to talk to. Shaquille O'Neal. Apparently, I'm hearing he's absolutely right to the back of the grid. I've got a minute or so left, I'm hearing in my headphones. So if I can find him, I will, if we trip over somebody else on the way. But I've been dying to talk to him all weekend. I haven't managed to catch up with him. He's apparently down by Eddie Irvine's car, who's quite a long way back on the grid. Let's head down there, shall we? Might as well have a little trot. Keeps us fit, doesn't it? So the big story then, Michael Schumacher only fourth on the grid. can Ferrari make it a hat-trick? They've won here with Irvine. They won here with Barrichello last year, amazingly not with Michael Schumacher, but he didn't look great in the warm-up this morning either. They've got to chase those Williams. I know they've all taken a lot of wing off. McLaren taken 6 kilometres per hour of wing off, trying to stay with those Williams BMW. I'm going to get pulped if I go and interrupt this guy. Shaquille, is it possible to have a quick chat live? Yeah, well, the boss is sort of normally up for it as well.
It's ITV.
ITV, you know, like we're live here. How's it going?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm just here to meet the world's best racers.
Yeah, well, you've been voted MVP in the States. You're like the world champion of basketball, yeah?
Yes, I am. I won my 2nd title. I'm here today to watch the world's best racers.
Yeah, and so do you think you get paid more than these guys?
Actually, I'm not sure, but they do it for fun. I do it for fun. We all do it for fun. I'm just here to have a good time. And I talk about my new album, Shaq O'Neal Presents Super Friends, and my new book that'll be released in Germany. It's called Shaq Talks Back.
Excellent. Well, it's good to talk to you. I can't hardly reach. My arm's shaking out. Bernie, are you going to have a quick word with us, or are you like, on a mission? What do you mean you're coming back? I'm live.
No, I've got to be my brother.
You got your new best friend?
No, he's my brother. He's a part of the family.
Yeah.
Exactly a twin, but...
you were born a few hours apart, or a few months apart. But he's a big guy. It's unbelievable. I'm dying to get a shot of you and him standing side by side. Look, that's got to be the shot. That's the shot we've been looking for all weekend. That is really sweet. We're going back to the studio. Thanks for talking to us.
Great stuff, Martin. Well done. Bernie and his brother, Shaq, Juan Pablo Montoya, the pole sitter, winding him up with a spot of Spanish as well. Great stuff from Martin Brundle. Grid walking. Do not go away. The German Grand Prix is about to come to the boil. It's race 12 of the championship, the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. Louise Goodman and Ted Kravitz are the ITV F1 pit crew. In the commentary box, the lightning quick Martin Brundle and James. Good afternoon to James Allen.
Thank you very much, Jim. Hello, everyone back in the UK. Well, this championship may not be over, but there's no doubt the fat lady has fully warmed up her tonsils. Michael Schumacher can afford to drive for points in the remaining 6 races, while David Coulthard has to win today. And for the rest of the season, really, it's a very tall order for the Scotsman. But Ferrari aren't painting the town red just yet. This weekend, they've been hit by a blue and white blitz. BMW Williams have dominated qualifying, grabbing the front row with almost an indecent margin of 0.7 of a second over their nearest challenger, Mika Häkkinen. Schumacher in 4th place. But the key question this afternoon will be, can the season's most unreliable team, Williams BMW, with only 8 finishes from 22 starts, can they keep the pace up and make it to the finish? In qualifying, the monstrous 850 horsepower BMW engine and the wide Michelin front tyres gave them the edge. But will the race be a different story? And isn't it nice to have a new driver on pole position? Pole sitter Juan Pablo Montoya. He doesn't care for reputations, and he has no qualms about taking on the Schumacher brothers mano a mano, as he would put it. Ralf Schumacher was unlucky yesterday in qualifying, and he has a burning desire to put this young Colombian upstart in his place. You can see there the Minardi, I think it was, being pushed down the pit lane. Fernando Alonso will start this race from the pit lane. He caught fire on the starting grid. In front of the 100,000 German fans then, Ralf Schumacher wants to put this guy fully back in his place. Williams have grabbed the headlines so far, but as Martin was saying on the grid, McLaren are looking very strong. It was very close this morning in the warm-up, just 1/10 of a second separating the top 4 cars. Ralf Schumacher, Montoya, David Coulthard and Michael Schumacher. And Martin, it's really going to come down this afternoon, I think, to strategy and reliability, isn't it?
I think clearly the fact that the Williams drivers sat out a lot of the warm-up and Ralf Schumacher choosing to do most of his mileage in the spare car. I think there's no doubt about it, that BMW engine, I think they rev a little bit higher with that. I'm led to believe they do about 400 kilometers before they virtually throw the engines away, 250 miles, so they want to minimize the mileage on that engine this morning. Suggests to me there's a slight Achilles heel there. They did have some engine failures in testing at Monza recently, which is a similar style of racetrack, of course. And I'm led to believe the Ferrari engine and the Mercedes-Benz engine can do well over 500 kilometers before they have to pull them apart and throw a lot of bits away. So quite clearly reliability could play an issue.
That's Marquez you see in the pit lane. Of course, Alonso was the car that caught fire, so that means we've got no Minardis at all on the grid, Martin. Just looking down, you can see the back row of the grid is in fact just Arrows's. Both Minardis in the pit lane. Alonso will start, Marquez clearly won't.
I wonder if they've given Alonso Marquez's car. I don't know whether their spare car is absolutely ready to go or what, but just a thought went through my mind as I saw Marquez getting out of what appeared to be a healthy car. It was certainly parked on the grid.
That's a good thought, Martin. Definitely a good thought. The spare was set up for Alonso this weekend, but maybe there was a problem with it. They quite often do a sighter lap just on the parade laps, the 15 minutes before they form up on the grid. The lead driver will put a lap or two on the spare car, but we don't know what the situation was with Minardi. Tyre blankets coming off then. Those are the tyres that Coulthard has been complaining about this weekend. The Bridgestone tyres didn't work out for him yesterday, but they were fine for Michael Schumacher and the other runners. Coulthard having a particular problem in qualifying yesterday, which deposited him down into 5th place. Big Mexican wave then from this 100,000 strong German crowd. I remember when I started in Formula 1 11 years ago, you could see plenty of spaces in the grandstands. But ever since Michael Schumacher's arrival, you can't even get a grandstand ticket 2 years in advance. That's how popular this sport has become in this country. They want to see the Schumacher brothers triumphant again today. Will they? Well, we're going to find out in a little over an hour and a half's time. It's incredibly exciting here. Wonderful atmosphere. The humidity has really grown. It's quite moist out there. Temperature in the air, 28 degrees. Not quite as warm as it was yesterday, but still plenty warm enough for a motor race.
Track temperature's not too high though, James, really, certainly not as high as we saw in qualifying yesterday, and this is a track that doesn't absorb the heat like some of the others. You'll see it's lighter in colour. Ron Dennis was talking to me about this morning, saying it's a lighter texture in colour and it doesn't soak up the temperature, and I don't think that's going to play a big factor this afternoon. We understand that they're cleaning up Alonso's car that caught fire on the grid, and Marquez is going into that, so maybe they've given Alonso the healthier car. Team tactics, understandably, Alonso tends to be faster than Marquez, so I can understand why Paul Stoddart would do that, if that is indeed what he's done. Maybe they had another technical problem, but a beautiful sight then as the cars head out into the forest. This is such a narrow track, James, really does feel narrow in a Formula 1 car over 200 miles an hour. Because it's bumpy, you can't run side by side very closely with another car without feeling that you're going to, touch at some point quite easily. And then there's very much a desperately late braking points and threading one by one through these tight chicanes.
I was interested to hear what you were saying on the grid about taking the wing off. Some of the cars have taken the wing off. They want to go faster in a straight line. Clearly overtaking today the absolute priority.
I think the only chance that McLaren have got of beating Williams today is to try and get track position, basically, and that's to be faster down the straight. If they don't do it quite early on in the process, then their rear tyres will start to fade, I believe, because the car slides around a lot more in the corners with less downforce. Remember, these cars are like aeroplane wings upside down. The wing is pushing the car into the racetrack. Take away some of that wing, you take away some drag, you go faster in the straight lines, but you struggle in the corners to really maximise and get all the grip you need.
A real festival of colour here in the stadium section. There's Ferrari's master strategist, Ross Brawn. And there is the Williams team. Sam Michael with his back to you. He's the main strategist. Patrick Head on the right there.
Interesting that they're in heated discussion about something. But casting around some of the team managers, they're all saying, we don't think it's going to rain this afternoon. It's definitely boiling up a little bit in the sky. And it's a little bit windy out there. But no team that I've spoken to is expecting rain during this race.
Juan Pablo Montoya then brings the field round. His first pole position in Formula 1, but by no means his first pole position in serious motor racing. He was the pace setter over in America in the kart championship. Won 10 races over there, of course, won the very prestigious Indianapolis 500 last year. Chip Ganassi's team. His teammate, though, Ralf Schumacher, he has one pole to his credit so far this season. He's alongside him. First Williams front row for almost 4 years. A fantastic sight. Hakkinen behind him, and Michael Schumacher as well, and Coulthard. Tremendous excitement into the first corner. Remember what happened last year, of course.
Michael Schumacher, you saw pressing a button on the steering wheel. That is part of quite a lengthy process he has to activate his launch, his automatic start control. And there are the two Minardis lining up, coming out of the pit lane.
So it's going to be an all-action start, no doubt, into this fast first corner. 110 miles an hour in normal circumstances. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. You know what happens next. Go! Great start by Montoya, but Ralf Schumacher's away well as also alongside him into the first corner, and one of the Ferraris has been left behind. It's Rubens Barrichello.
No, it's Michael
Massive
Schumacher.
accident. Luciano Berti rolls it. Luciano Berti got tangled up in a huge roll. That's sure to bring out the red flag, Martin.
I think it'll have to be. It's Michael got away slowly and then just did not accelerate properly at all as Rubens Barrichello is up the inside, and there is the damage. Once again, Michael Schumacher out of this race in the first corner, but the car parked absolutely in the middle of the racetrack. Surely they will red flag it. The safety car is standing by. It says on the computer. That's obvious. Will they be able to control this race? It's a long lap here, of course, James. A minute 40 or so before they're going to get round to this part of the racetrack. So it's a Williams 1-2, and Barrichello up into third place, past Hakkinen, as one of the Saubers has a go at passing. He'll get a penalty for that if he does not yield back to David Coulthard. The Sauber must let Coulthard back through. Berti then, unsighted, did not see the slow Ferrari ahead of him and just launched off the back of it. And the Ferrari and the emergency vehicle still right in the middle of the track, just towing now.
For the second time then in 2 years, Michael Schumacher out at the first corner of the German Grand Prix. They're pulling his car off the racetrack as Juan Montoya in the leading pack enter the stadium section. They're going to make it by about 20 seconds. Safety car on the track. Good decision, I think.
Yes, because, and they've not put the red flag out because they have now dragged the stricken Ferrari out of the racing line completely. The safety car will pick them up. That is more than anything to enable them to clear up the inevitable carbon fibre debris that I can see all over the racetrack.
Well, Michael Schumacher, of course, will have some feelings about this. He might think this race possibly should have been stopped, should have given him a chance to get back into the pits, to get into his spare car and start the race all over again. But just look at this debris. Carbon fibre, it's enormously sharp, very light material, but pick it up in your tyres and it'll just put a little slice in them, which when you're going at 220 miles an hour down the straight, tyre could let go at any time.
Yeah, that's critical here. These high-speed circuits where the tyres are absolutely on the ragged edge anyway, that's totally critical for a puncture, and the drivers quite sensibly trying to pick their way through that, but even a little shard can give you a puncture, as you said.
Will there be some discussions going on right now with drivers on the radio? I know when you were a Grand Prix driver, you were always a big wheel in the Grand Prix Drivers Association. You talked on the radio with the race organisers when a circumstance was too dangerous, when it was too wet, that kind of thing. Will they be saying, look, get this stuff off the racetrack as quick as possible? Here's another look at the restart anyway. For
sure they will be. They have now red flagged at this race, so the race is red flagged. I think there's too much debris on the track. They've had to do that. And now we're seeing a replay this time. Michael Schumacher was slow away. I was watching him out of the window, but then he just stopped accelerating completely. Look, the pack goes around him, and oh, look, completely unsighted. Behind the Jordan was Luciano Berti, collects an Arrows of Bonaldi on the way. That car then is a sledge, and it's just heading its way straight to the scene of the final part of his accident. The race is stopped. It's on lap 1. Therefore, it'll be a whole new restart. Michael Schumacher can take to the grid in the spare car. That is why you're seeing the action going on there. Michael Schumacher can start this race.
What a crazy start. What a crazy start to the German Grand Prix. You're going to get it all over again, folks. The only bit you won't get was another grid walk, but you'll get everything else. You get a new start, new parade lap, and we will have a new formation situation.
14:26, then there's a 20-minute restart procedure. They go into the whole new procedure, and that has already been declared at 2:26 local time, 1:26, of course, in the UK, when they're going to restart this race. And well, a lot of people might say there'll be some chat in the paddock about, oh, of course they had to red flag it because it's Michael Schumacher and it's Hockenheim and it's Ferrari. But I firmly believe there was much too much debris on that racetrack. And here we go then with another replay. Bertie, unsighted behind the Jordan, moves across the track, has not read the speed differential because he's not been able to see it. And really, that's a lucky escape for 3 drivers.
Particularly Enrique Benoldi, because Luciano Berti went right over the top of him. You've seen situations like that in the past.
And there's another angle then. Michael slowing down. He's effectively out of this race, James, at this point. Look, and now he certainly is through this incident now. And that is a horrible, horrible accident. And isn't it amazing? They've only just left the start line, and look at the energy and look at the speed with which he continues, despite having ripped off his wheels and bodywork. Look at the speed where he now connects with the tyre barrier, and that is virtually from a standing start.
We're hearing now that Michael Schumacher, they're going to check that Luciano Berti is okay, to apologise, no doubt, for an awful, awful situation. There's a strong sense of brotherhood between these Grand Prix drivers that test themselves to the limit against each other every 2 weeks. Michael just checking that he was okay, but we're hearing that Schumacher had a gear problem. He didn't have any second, third or fourth gears as he accelerated up through the box. So restart is going to come up around the corner, and all to play for still here at Hockenheim. It's just gone 11 minutes past 2 here in central Germany, and we should be watching a Grand Prix underway, but as a result of a major accident into the first corner at the original start, we have a red flag, and the race will start in another 15 minutes time. So we're going back to the formation on the grid. All the cars are there, and there is Michael Schumacher, who has now got into the spare car. He was involved in the incident with Luciano Berti into turn 1, and here is the truck just sweeping up the bits of carbon fibre debris, which of course is so potentially damaging to the tyres on the cars. It was a good decision, I think, to stop the race, but really there's Häkkinen and David Coulthard have a discussion. Really, one wonders whether or not they mightn't have red flagged it a little bit earlier even. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Yeah, James, I'm down here back on the grid. Of course, some of us can get back onto the pit wall. I'm right opposite Michael's car. There is a calm sense of, all right, let's just do it one more time. It is an incredible let-off for Schumacher. It was looking terrible for his World Championship hopes, not that they were that bad anyway, but it was looking just the thing for David Coulthard. However, he now is into the spare. He looks calm. I mean, he's not, you know, gesticulating around or anything. He's okay. The losers here, though, I think, James, are all the other cars, the McLarens and the Williams. They've already been through the stresses of a start. Schumacher is effectively in a new car.
Yeah, it's an important point, but there is enough time with this 20-minute gap, this set procedure that all of the team managers know very, very well. They keep a little piece of laminated paper in their pocket with the exact procedure to go through this again. Rubens Barrichello will be disappointed with that restart. He was up from 6th on the grid to 3rd already. Had a wonderful start, did Rubens Barrichello, and a very calm Montoya. And this is the time when Grand Prix drivers really earn their money, James, when you know, it sorts out those that can keep their head in the heat of the moment and those that can't, and you're just hanging around, just keeping your pulse down, breathing normally, a little reset button in your head, and okay, it's a start of yet another Grand Prix, no problem.
What about when you've been up in the air, rolling through the air? I'm thinking back, of course, to the Australian Grand Prix '96 when you did that in the Jordan, and barrel rolling into that corner, running back to get into the spare car. Can you really just flick a switch and say, right, new start, I've forgotten everything that just happened to me, I've forgotten rolling through the air at over 100 miles an hour?
Absolutely. You're here to race. You've spent 3 days now getting ready for this Grand Prix, plus pre-race testing and all of the other aspects of coming to this, the 2001 German Grand Prix. And if you can race, if you can get into the spare car, that's all you're thinking about. There's nothing else enters your mind at all.
A lot of work there going on down on David Coulthard's car. Quite furious discussions at the front. They've got the opportunity, of course, just to make any last-minute changes, things that they perhaps wish they'd done on the grid first time round. And they're a well-oiled operation, the McLaren team, as are most of the teams in this field. Formula One, the level standard of professionalism really has gone through the roof in the last few years. But it's a slightly more sparse grid we're looking at. There's Peter Sauber on the left and his young protege Nick Heidfeld. Another outstanding qualifying performance by the Sauber team. They really are very strong. About to announce that they're going to have the Ferrari engines for another 2 years, which really is the cornerstone of their competitiveness, I reckon.
Yeah, I think that's important for Sauber. I hear that they could, or they need a lot more sponsorship money too. Certainly if they're going to maintain the pace they've had this year and improve it for next year. But they've been the sensation of the season, really. You have to say Sauber underperformed for so many years with sometimes a lot of very good equipment and decent sponsorship. And but this year they finally delivered. We're hearing the crowd cheering. The prancing horse there looks rather more like Bambi at the moment, doesn't it? Just after it was born, sadly, with its wheels pointing in the wrong direction. But other winners then in all of this, of course, are the Minardi team. They can now once again go to the back of the grid and hope that they don't catch fire this time around, and they can start the race proper instead of starting from the pit lane. Wouldn't make a huge amount of difference to them because they were on the back of the grid anyway.
Yes, the two Minardis are now on the grid where they should be. There's Pedro de la Rosa. Out-qualified Eddie Irvine this weekend. That was an important milestone for him, the Jaguar team. Irvine really has had the upper hand throughout the season, but de la Rosa this time round just getting the edge, and that will have done his confidence a power of good.
So Luciano Berti has made it out of the pit lane just with about 40 seconds to go. He's made it out of the pit lane in the Prost. The guy, of course, that was upside, well, not quite upside down, but flying through the air. So he should, we think, be making his way around the back of the track now, and he will arrive on the grid with plenty of time to spare.
And of course, when we go again, it'll be exactly the same procedure. There is Luciano Berti, who says Grand Prix drivers are made of anything other than the hardest of steel. Coming round, just making it out, as Martin was saying, in time to get onto the grid. And this is a good moment, I think, as Luciano Berti comes round to take up the grid. Juan Montoya, of course, sitting on pole. Ralf Schumacher alongside him. A good moment before the restart to take a quick break. It's the German Grand Prix. The restart will be going off in about 6 or 7 minutes' time. Delighted to tell you that both Michael Schumacher and Luciano Berti, who were involved in that first corner accident, they have both got into the spare cars and both will take the restart. And Louise Goodman, I believe, has some news for us.
Yes, I just had a quick word with the Prost doctor. He said, Luciano, he okay, he toughy. So Luciano obviously feeling no pain. Either that or he's so pumped up with adrenaline, he's not sure what he's feeling. There is one slight injury, though. There's an ambulance outside the Jaguar pit at the moment. One of the mechanics tripped over, rushing back to the grid, but he seems to be okay.
Yeah, I wonder, I don't think Luciano Berti will feel quite so good tomorrow morning when all the aches and pains come through. Wouldn't surprise me at all if he hasn't shunted the vertebra in his back up a little bit, because it was a very, very heavy landing. He did actually go completely over and then landed on its under tray, minus enough wheels for it to be really a very, very painful landing. So that is the view then from the high cam of the cars ready for the restart, and Mika Häkkinen looking moderately happy with life, doesn't he? He looks pretty calm and cool. Some of the drivers elected to stay in the car. I thought De La Rosa looked a little bit heavy in the eyes when we saw him. We peered into his crash helmet a few minutes ago. Most of the drivers got out, had a walk around, and I think we're treating it as just another Grand Prix start. I think that's the best thing to do, James. Otherwise, you're sitting in the cockpit just stewing.
Because it's the second major accident for Luciano Berti this season. Of course, in the qualifying at the Australian Grand Prix, as you will recall, he had a very substantial accident in the Jaguar, which he was then driving. Transferred, of course, to Prost team in around about the Spanish Grand Prix time. Let's take another look at the restart, Martin. This is the best angle, I think, this one.
Yeah, and Berti then is unsighted behind the Jordan that's going to flash through the picture now, and suddenly realises he's closing in on the back of that Ferrari, hits the brakes, but it's way too late. Luckily did not land directly in the cockpit of Bernaldi in the Arrows, and then just skidding across, and the wheels staying within the bounds of the racetrack too, so the spectators were safe. There's a big fence there anyway to scoop that sort of thing up, but what it did leave was an awful lot of debris, understandably, right across the racetrack, and even under safety car conditions they weren't really prepared to allow the cars to pass through there. We've had sweepers on the racetrack trying to get rid of all of that carbon fibre. When it breaks up, James, it's really sharp and dangerous stuff and cuts the sidewall, and then what happens is the tyre just grows and grows and grows. You don't initially feel a puncture. It grows at those high speeds, well over 350 kilometers an hour, and then just lets go when you least need it to at the end of the long straights.
So the safety car moves off. 4 minutes to go. You see 4 lights on the top there, 4 red lights. That means 4 minutes until the race will start. Just time for me to tell you a nice story I heard about Juan Montoya as we looked there at Mika Häkkinen. Montoya, when he was a young man, raced in Colombia, got as far as he could through karts and single-seaters and Formula Vauxhall Viva and whatever else they had over there. Realised he needed a bigger, wider platform. But of course he had no money. His father is an architect, not a terribly successful one, and he needed a break. So he went looking for a racing series where there would be prize money available for the young drivers. Went to America. The big problem then was, how does he get to America from Colombia every fortnight? Just so happened, his father had a friend who was in the flower export business, exporting carnations, fresh carnations to the United States. And every 2 weeks, Montoya and his father would sit in the back of this plane with blankets and thermal coats on them with the flowers to get up to America so that he could race. That's the commitment that's got this kid all the way through and has got him now to pole position here in the German Grand Prix and being one of the front runners in this sport.
I thought when I was talking to him on the grid it was just a bad aftershave, but obviously it was too long spent in the cargo hull of a flower aircraft. But anyway, it's coming up roses today so far on pole position, of course, still for the restart. And well, we didn't really sort of look at them too much, did we, on the first start? They were clearly 1 and 2. I don't know which way round it was. I assume it was Montoya first. We were all busy watching Michael Schumacher and all the antics going on around and behind him. And also quite interesting on that first lap, we saw the Sauber going through the runoff zones at the chicanes. And the drivers have spoken to Charlie Whiting, the race director, about that, because you're not allowed to gain a position, but by going through those escape roads, you can have a go at somebody. If it doesn't work out, go through the escape road, tuck back in behind them. You've not gained, but you've certainly saved yourself from losing some positions, as you would normally do if it was grass or a gravel trap or whatever. And there's a timing loop every 200 meters around this racetrack, as there are at every other Grand Prix circuit in the world. And if the race director can see where somebody's had a clear speed advantage on the exit of a chicane, although he hasn't made a position up, he will still be penalised. We had that in the Formula 3000 race yesterday, where a driver made a pass, won the race, because he had a better run off of jumping the chicane before. And they'll be looking very carefully at that today.
Also an opportunity, I would thought, Martin, to have taken a look at your competitors, to see how much rear wing they've got running today. Of course, you'd have seen what kind of straight line speeds that they can do, and maybe an opportunity just to trim your settings on the grid this restart, just to give yourself a better chance against your main rivals.
Yes, they'll all have wing covers on, of course, on the grid as long as they can. I can see them now on the Williams as we see another replay of the start, and look for the red Ferrari now falling back through the field. And Bertie then very, very unsighted, wasn't he, behind that Jordan, and bang. That is the end of that, just for a little while. And well, as we've said, luckily all of them are back in cars, back on the grid, ready for another attempt this afternoon. The engines have fired up now, and Schumacher very concerned there about Bertie's health. I think that's what that little discussion is all about. Are you okay? Because Michael knows how easy it is to do that. And remember that Michael had lost his gears, so effectively he was out of that Grand Prix.
Yes, a lucky escape for all of the men. Talk a little bit about race strategy now. It's a 45-lap race, of course, here at Hockenheim. They use about 160 kilos of fuel. And we're expecting the one-stoppers to come in around about lap 25 to 30. Look at Montoya pointing slightly outwards. It's an interesting angle. I haven't seen that one before. Normally the drivers point in at each other, certainly trying to block anyone coming through. Great shot there of the two Williamses. Fantastically proud day for Sir Frank Williams and Patrick Head. They really are back now at the top of Grand Prix racing.
Yeah, this is the dummy grid, of course, the dummy grid. So they will now go around on the formation lap. This lap counts as one of the Grand Prix laps. And it's when they come around again is when they'll be getting their car pointed where they want it to be. The inside of the track here is very dirty. It's not the racing line at all, but it does tend, because I think it's fresher tarmac, it does tend to have very good grip down the inside here.
I noticed then when the cars just went off, it took the tyre covers off, as we ride on board there with Mika Häkkinen, that Montoya had a brand new set of tyres on. The others all had a set of tyres that looked slightly scuffed. They'd done a lap or two, but Montoya definitely had a brand new set of tyres on. It's an interesting decision.
Yeah, well, they certainly both started the first Grand Prix, as it were, with brand new tyres on. And I think because this is a whole new Grand Prix, a whole new start to the afternoon, they can elect to do that if they choose to do so. So Montoya leads them then down into the second chicane. And of course, standing starts are, in recent years, reasonably unusual for Montoya over there in IndyCar racing, where they have rolling starts, where he won the championship, of course. So for him on pole for a standing start is something he hasn't done since his Formula 3000 days.
Will be greatly helped, of course, by the introduction of launch control, new systems that get the cars computer controlled. The driver just presses a button now, and when the lights go out, the car takes over and does the rest, hurls the thing at the first corner. Since the introduction of launch control, they now get up to 100 miles an hour, even faster than they did before. It takes just under 4 seconds to get one of these things from a standing start to 100 miles an hour. It's a staggering thought, isn't it? They're all doing well over 100 by the time they arrive at the first corner. Jean Todt on the right there, the sporting director of Ferrari. Norbert Haug there on the left from Mercedes-Benz. A lot of pressure on Mercedes today. BMW have them on the back foot. Intense competition here in Germany between the two leading car makers. Both have many thousands of employees and guests in the grandstands here. I know that Mercedes have 5,000 tickets just for their employees in this wonderful motordrome, as they call it. Fantastic stadium. Next year, of course, this circuit will be redeveloped. There'll be even more stadium sections. Here's the local hero, Michael Schumacher. But all eyes focused once again on the front row, Juan Montoya and Ralf Schumacher.
David Coulthard, of course, who's starting alongside Michael Schumacher on the grid, will be grimacing slightly, thinking, I could well have done with him out of this race today for my World Championship chances. So a big save then so far for Michael Schumacher to be able to restart this Grand Prix. But the reset button has been hit then, and they've all got an equal chance once again.
Today's the tension, the atmosphere. Their adrenaline's already been pumped to the limit once this afternoon. It's about to be pumped to the limit once again. Everything is in place. 2 lights, 3 lights go on, 4 lights, 5 lights, and for the second time this afternoon, it is go! Montoya away well. Also Ralf Schumacher, Michael Schumacher much better, but Coulthard right alongside him into turn 1. Who's going to come out in front? It's very even Stevens between the two of them. Bertie, not surprisingly, rather tentative through that corner for the first time, but Coulthard and Michael Schumacher are going at it hammer and tongs, and Rubens Barrichello looks to make a move.
Yeah, Barrichello then all over the back of Coulthard. Can Coulthard find a way around the outside of the Ferrari into turn 1? Hakkinen then losing a lot of speed as he heads down into the terminal speed zone down there. Somebody's locked his brakes, and another big accident. Surely that must be Della Rosa, the first of the Jaguars off the line, running into the back of, I suspect, Nick Heidfeld in the Sauber. So we have a Williams 1-2, a Ferrari 3rd, and now David Coulthard coming back. It is Della Rosa in the Jaguar. We don't know the other Sauber driver yet. It is Heidfeld. Heidfeld in the other car. Coulthard's made it back past Rubens Barrichello. A Benetton then across the escape road. It's all happening. Will they have to put the safety car out again? And still, the Ferrari and McLaren absolutely side by side. That's Barrichello and Coulthard one more time. That's going to get tight. That's going to get very tight. Barrichello getting smart there, realising it wasn't going to pay off. And look how much more grunt he's got coming out of that chicane. We don't know if it's wing level. We know that Coulthard took a lot of wing off before the start of the Grand Prix for the warm-up this morning. And still Coulthard with the racing line then. And Barrichello making it stick around the outside. And the Sauber now having a go of Raikkonen. So Coulthard losing out then to Barrichello that time around. That's a massive scrap for what is 5th and 6th places.
Fantastic wheel-to-wheel racing here at Hockenheim. Coulthard seems to be dropping back, though. Has he got a problem, I wonder? Look at the gap now already between himself and Barrichello, or indeed are they carrying different fuel loads? That's one possibility.
Coulthard went wide in the first part of that Sud curve, so that's why he dropped back. Coulthard getting right up into the marbles at the top there. So Montoya leads then, James, from Ralf Schumacher by 1.4 at the end of the first lap.
Yes, then it's Michael Schumacher 3rd. Here's the accident again, Martin, as Della Rosa hits into the back of Heidfeld. Just misjudged his braking point from the looks of things.
That was the man I said sat in his car looking like he was getting stewed, didn't I? I thought Della Rosa looked a bit intense in that car, and he's massively out-braked himself and then just hung on to the brake pedal and straight into the back of Heidfeld. Shame there for Heidfeld, shame for Della Rosa too, but clearly Della Rosa's fault.
So Montoya, a 1.4-second advantage over his teammate Ralf Schumacher at the end of that first lap, but Ralf Schumacher has set the fastest first sector time on the second lap. So these two are pushing each other very hard. Michael Schumacher is third, Mika Häkkinen fourth, Barrichello is fifth, Coulthard down to sixth, Kimi Räikkönen pressing very hard in seventh place in the Sauber. Eddie Irvine has done well. He's in eighth place, just what Jaguar needed, because they've got a very fast race car and they're enormously frustrated always by their performance in qualifying. This gives Irvine possibly a platform for the afternoon to really do something. Ninth is Trulli and 10th Villeneuve.
And Barrichello now lining up Mika Häkkinen. So are the Ferraris running lighter, or are McLaren just way off the pace at the beginning of this Grand Prix? They were some 5 seconds adrift at the end of the first lap already. So McLaren under pressure, Ferrari holding station really. Michael looking pretty strong there in third place actually, at least still got the Williams in sight down the long start-finish straight here. And look at Barrichello then all over the back of Häkkinen.
Never mind Barrichello, look at the gap now between Montoya and Ralf Schumacher, over 2 seconds. The Colombian is really pushing hard, pulling away from his young teammate. Similar age, both 25, within the heart of this Williams team, and they're both desperate to make their mark. Some great scrapping going on also through the field. Barrichello and Häkkinen very close together in the battle for 5th place as well. Jenson Button fans, he's 13th at the moment, not bad, up from 17th on the grid. Montoya sets a new fastest lap.
Yeah, remember Montoya led the Brazilian Grand Prix, and Barrichello, look how close he is now. Häkkinen will have to go to the inside, but the sort of speed differential we saw last time around, Barrichello can go right down the outside, and that was like taking candy from a baby, wasn't it? That was so easy, because really when the drag is coming in heavily at the end, they're doing 220 miles an hour at the end of those straights, really the Ferrari looked a lot cleaner through the air. Whether it's wing level or whether it's just aerodynamics, we don't know.
Whether it's fuel, indeed. You mentioned before they could be running a little bit light. Gerhard Berger won this race back in 1997 on a 2-stop strategy. Let's have a look at it from Mika Häkkinen's perspective. Just breezes past, doesn't he?
Absolutely, and I can see now that that's earlier in the race, actually. I think that's how Michael took third place at the start of the Grand Prix, James. That's down the outside, and Häkkinen's car seems to hit a brick wall, doesn't it, and just stops accelerating, and they're just into the early part of the braking zone anyway there, and the Ferraris menacingly, and there is the accident behind. De La Rosa miles out of bed with his braking, panicked really. Once he realised he was a bit deep, just hit the middle pedal, and it did not slow down. It will never slow down while you've got your wheels locked up. It's just the same as on the road. And Montoya then, his lead up to 2.5 seconds last time around.
Well, there was nothing between Ferrari and McLaren in this morning's warm-up. It was very close indeed, as it was yesterday in qualifying as well. So what has happened with the McLarens this afternoon? Have they got an end game in mind? Are they carrying more fuel? All these things are possible, or simply have they got the wrong wing angles? David Coulthard unhappy with his car yesterday, but Mika Häkkinen very happy with his.
Now look, Barrichello then, has he passed Häkkinen? Yes, he has. So, well, we saw that, didn't we? So Barrichello then immediately pulling out a big gap on Mika Häkkinen and beginning to home in on the back of Michael Schumacher now. So we're wondering, is he on a lower fuel load? Because it really did seem remarkably easy, didn't it?
It certainly did. Montoya at the front, though, continuing his relentless progress away from everybody else. He is now 2.5 seconds clear of his teammate, and would you believe it, 5.4 seconds clear of Michael Schumacher. In a league of his own at the moment. Of course, a long way to go in this motor race. Strategy will play a role. Reliability most definitely will play a role, as we see Zonta, I think, putting a nice move on Villeneuve. That's for 10th place. And indeed, Ricardo Zonta standing in behind Harold Frentzen, who was sacked on Wednesday, I believe, by Eddie Jordan, putting a nice move on Jacques Villeneuve, making his way through the field. Olivier Panis, in fact, I beg your pardon, that's the battle for 12th place between Panis and Zonta. Trulli and Villeneuve are 9th and 10th.
So Montoya then, a new fastest lap, a 1:42.2. That is 2 seconds underneath the lap record, James, of this racetrack already. We've seen lap records slaughtered all around the world this year, haven't we? With the latest Formula One cars, sensational speeds they're doing, and they're down already in the low 1:42s. He was some half a second faster that time around, James, and the dust you see in the background is as they just run a little bit wide on the exit of turn 1. Nothing like as dramatic as it first appears.
The pace of development in Formula One is relentless, and certainly the biggest leaps at the moment being made by the tyres. Michelin on this Williams you're looking at of Juan Montoya, of course, and Bridgestone with Ferrari and McLaren, and the gaps have come down so much. 3-4 seconds a lap we are faster than last year, mainly due to the tyres.
Well, of course, Williams are very much attached to Michelin for the future. We understand that the Ferraris will be with Bridgestone for the next 4 years. So what will McLaren do? What would you do if you were McLaren, James, at the moment? I think I'd go Michelin, wouldn't you?
I would like to see McLaren go with Michelin, actually. I think that would make would be really good for Formula One to see them go a different way from Ferrari. They've been their principal competition really for the last 4 years. Now you can see that Michelin together with Williams and BMW are getting very strong. As Zonta misses the chicane, you have to be careful to feed himself back in the right place, and I think he has done that. Very cleverly done, because if you gain a place by jumping through the chicane like that, you will get a 10-second stop and go penalty. Extremely expensive around here, and we've seen it cost people over the last few years.
Yeah, I went down one of those escape roads backwards once in a Ligier and still got penalised and had a stop and go penalty, which I never did understand. You normally get a fine to go with that as well. But anyway, look, the Ferraris line astern. Barrichello just 7/10 behind Michael Schumacher. They're 3rd and 4th. Hakkinen 5th and 6th, but they're lapping well over a second a lap slower than the leading Williams at the moment. So it didn't look like it after the warm-up that Williams were going to run and hide. Certainly did after qualifying yesterday, but right now they are disappearing. They're a full 7.6 seconds ahead of 3rd place man Michael Schumacher.
Well, it's been a race with plenty of drama at the start. We're looking at Mika Häkkinen's wife Erja there. And one of the other dramas we had, of course, was the Minardi scenario, where both of them were off the grid, the original grid. Alonso's car caught fire. Marquez's car was pulled into the pit lane. I can tell you they're running last, 19th and 20th. And amazingly, Martin, as we look at David Coulthard's girlfriend there, Marquez is already 11 seconds behind his teammate, and we're only 5 laps into this motor race. Yeah,
and for some reason Coulthard's fuel flap is open on the wrong side of the car. They're held on by, and that's a Jordan with some damage by the looks of it. Looks like he's got his front wing hanging out and and there it's gone now completely. So that was Trulli, we believe. So Jarno Trulli then has clearly run into the back of somebody. No, it's Zonta. I'm sorry, it's new boy Zonta, the man who replaced Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but according to the computer printout here.
Well, we saw him making that mistake at the chicane, and Ricardo Zonta not exactly covering himself in glory on his Grand Prix debut with Jordan. Here's, well, what he did.
Yeah, he's just tagged, look, and that's a very high-speed middle part of the track, and he went to use the slipstream he'd picked up, and the piece of road he was aiming at just disappeared as the arrows pulled across in front of him. It wasn't too dramatic, it just was, well, that could have been a very nasty incident.
It's almost, Martin, like Jordan have put a curse on themselves this weekend, haven't they? They've fired Heinz-Harald Frentzen before the weekend, before even his own home Grand Prix. There are banners throughout this stadium saying, Jordan, go home, Eddie, we hate you. And throughout the weekend, they've just had a catalogue of disasters. Engine blow-ups, car failures in qualifying yesterday for Trulli, and again in the warm-up this morning. Now Zonta has lost his front wing, and Jordan will want to forget the 2001 German Grand Prix as Zonta comes into his pit.
It's all part of the soap opera of Formula One, though, isn't it? You can go from hero to zero very quickly, but you can also go from zero to hero as well in this game just as quickly, and Eddie Jordan knows that only too well.
Let's talk about a man then who's turned his fortunes around. That's got to be Juan Montoya. Yesterday, Frank Williams said he thought that Montoya had had a really good talk to himself after Montreal, where he almost got into a fist fight with Jacques Villeneuve in the driver's briefing. He was over-aggressive in Monaco, over-aggressive in Montreal, and this weekend he really has shown he's turned it all around. And Louise has news for us.
Louise doesn't have news for us right now, but what we're looking at here is Barrichello being allowed past Michael Schumacher up into 3rd place, somewhat confirming, I think, our idea that he may well be running on low fuel at the start of this Grand Prix. Got off the line like a rocket, and he's been scything past cars, and Michael quite clearly letting him go through there. But I'm surprised how much gap Michael's then allowed to develop so quickly. But Barrichello then now getting after those Williams. He's 9 seconds behind the leader.
Won the race here last year, Rubens Barrichello, from 18th place on the grid. He started this race from 6th, and, well, he's certainly challenging now. Louise Goodman.
This time with Pedro de la Rosa. Pedro, was that maybe a slightly over-optimistic move?
Yeah, well, I made a mistake coming into the second chicane. I braked too late. just as simple as that. Sometimes you have to take risks. I made a good start, and it was not that I braked too late. It was just or later than I would. It's just that they were stuck in the first chicane really slow. Everyone was on first gear, and I arrived there in completely too quick and could not stop the car. Locked, hit Nick, and that was the end.
Thanks, Pedro.
Yeah, they're always slow in the chicanes on the first lap as everybody's jockeying for position. That's a guaranteed, that's not a maybe, that's a definitely that's going to happen. And there's the gap already then that Barrichello has opened up on Michael Schumacher. Schumacher lapping 1.4 seconds slower than the two Williams that are running first and second at the moment. And Montoya's lead then up to 4.7 seconds. And as you can see now for yourself, Barrichello 4.3 seconds further down the road in third position. Can he make this lower fuel load work for him this afternoon? He's got a heavy and hard afternoon ahead of him, and that presumably then is Zonta pulling out of the race. There must be some other form of damage on Zonta's Jordan from when he tagged with the arrows going down the straight.
Ricardo Zonta then retires from 20th place in this German Grand Prix. Montoya still leading after 8 laps from Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello up to third, having been let through by his team leader, Michael Schumacher, who's now fourth. It's where he wants to be, in front of David Coulthard, his main title rival, who is down in 6th place. Between the two of them still, Mika Häkkinen. Kimi Räikkönen holding on in 7th place. Another strong performance from this young Finnish driver. Then Eddie Irvine in 8th, just 0.6 of a second behind Räikkönen. Trulli is in the fight as well in 9th. Jacques Villeneuve is in 10th place. And we're looking at the race leader, Juan Montoya, and this is what he got a reputation for over in the United States. Pulling away from the start. A very aggressive, feisty racing driver. He's a fantastic physical presence, Montoya. Big, powerful forearms, a real barroom brawler. Louise, what can you tell us?
Well, I'm stood here with Nick Heidfeld. Let's get the other side of the story. Nick, Pedro admitted responsibility for that one. Presumably you'd agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody who saw it on the TV has to say that it wasn't my mistake, but I'm out of the race.
And your face is registering your disappointment.
I mean, we've been very strong all weekend. I've been on P7 for the last 2 days, and that's the maximum we can achieve. And another really bad thing is that it's the third or even the fourth time that I'm hit in the race, and nothing I could do about it.
Bad luck, Nick. Thanks.
Yeah, definitely a very ambitious move there or mistake it really was by De La Rosa, which he was good enough to admit. We're just watching a slow-mo of the oversteering McLaren there of David Coulthard with the fuel flap, showing the cars, all Formula 1 cars have a fuel flap on both sides, because depending on the direction of the racetrack and whether the pit's on the inside or the outside of the racetrack, you fuel left or you fuel right. You fuel right-hand side of the car from the driver's perspective here, so that is just a redundant flap this weekend that has managed to come up by itself, and that will not be helping the aerodynamics on this high-speed, low-downforce racetrack.
I mentioned before that Eddie Irvine has a better race car than he has a qualifying car, and he's putting some moves now on Kimi Räikkönen. This is the battle right on your screens. I think the directors cottoned onto it too. Just 0.6 of a second between them as they went over the line last time, and Irvine has been monstering him through 1 or 2 of the chicanes on this lap. We'll see what Kimi Räikkönen is made of shortly, I think. And here's the scrap going on for 9th place. Trulli is leading from Villeneuve and Panis in this scrap. This is really the middle race, with the BARs and the Jordans scrapping it out for perhaps the last of the points positions. But at the moment, you have to say Sauber have got the upper hand on these two teams. Not what we expected, but it's certainly what's being played out here.
And I think Panis is ahead now, isn't he, of Villeneuve? So Panis somewhere has snuck past Villeneuve to take that 10th place. Yes, indeed, he has. So 3 Honda engined cars then, a line astern, the other one out of the race with Zonta tripping over early on, tripping over an arrows and losing the nose and probably damaging the suspension as well. And this is a very good scrap in the middle of the field. 9th, 10th and 11th then. But if, I tell you, if those Williams are one stopping this afternoon, this is a whitewash, because they're romping away a second and a half per lap from the Ferraris and the McLarens in particular. And if they only have to stop once this afternoon, they're going to win it by a country mile.
It's Montoya turning the same sort of lap times on this last time through as Barrichello, so he's going quickly as well. We think he's running low fuel. Gives you an idea of the kind of pace of the Williams at the moment. This is a good scrap though. Olivier Panis in the white BAR, chasing down Jarno Trulli in the yellow Jordan. The scrap for 9th place. Jacques Villeneuve has either been passed by his teammate or allowed his teammate through to attack Trulli. This, of course, the battle for honour amongst the two Honda teams. A fierce scrap between them this season, both using the same Works Honda engine. And this is really a racetrack where you can see whether the chassis is better. He's making a move.
Yeah, he's making him go the long way round, is Jarno Trulli. And has Panis got enough at the end of the straight? No, he clearly has not. And he really got on the brakes quite early there, did Olivier Panis, realising it wasn't going to work that time around.
Braking absolutely is critical here, it seems, this weekend. It's really been underlined. You've got to get your braking right, not just in qualifying to go quickly, but in every sense to make your overtaking manoeuvre. And, of course, in De La Rosa's case, not to go crashing into the back of another car.
Absolutely, but Panis certainly getting on his brake pedal very early in that manoeuvre. I think he gave up on that one very early in the process. But Montoya there locking his unloaded inside left into Sachs hairpin, but no ABS brakes on these cars, of course, unlike most road cars these days. No ABS is allowed, and a good thing too. Needs, I don't think there should be automatic gearboxes either. A fundamental aspect of driving a racing car is turning the wheel, pressing the throttle, controlling the engine power, and knowing how hard and exactly how to and when to brake. And Louise is down in the pits.
With Riccardo Zonta. Riccardo, Eddie said to me just before the race, I'm having a nightmare weekend. I think you just added to that. What happened?
The race was quite okay. The car seems okay in the race, but when Verstappen made a mistake on the Jinken, I catch his toe and I was going to overtake him. I was beside him and he just closed the door. I don't know if he didn't see me there, but I was completely beside with him, and I, touched my front wing, then was going my race.
You're obviously kind of keep this drive, not the race you wanted, really.
Sorry?
You're trying to keep this drive, not really the race you wanted.
Yeah, it was a very difficult weekend for me. Of course, I felt some pressure, but I made some mistakes on the weekend, also some reliability problems. It was very difficult.
Thanks, Riccardo.
And there you saw Panis finally getting braver on the brake pedal down the outside of Trulli. I don't really know why Trulli allowed that apparently to happen so easily, but Trulli looked like he was on the ragged edge trying to slow down as well on the inside line. And Trulli now picking up the toe and coming back, but he does not. He tries to have a go at the last moment. That was really clumsy, totally clumsy of Trulli. He was going to have a go, he's shaking his head in the cockpit, and rightly so, like, I'll have a go, no I won't, yes I will after all, and that is the net result of a silly spin.
I could have done that. Ridiculous by Jarno Trulli, very strange mistake. Montoya leading then on lap 12 by 6.7 seconds from Ralf Schumacher, 7.4 seconds now as they cross the line. He really is in control of this motor race, but there's a long way to go yet. We haven't had the pit stops. An awful lot can still happen. Here's another look at the move.
Yes, and Trulli then locking up on the inside. This is the first chicane. And then, no, sorry, it's the second chicane. So it was almost a carbon copy of what happened when he went up the inside of the previous chicane to that. And let's see another replay. Coming up the inside, struggling to slow the car down. Well, just a silly, pathetic spin, really, wasn't it?
And the man on the move at the moment is Rubens Barrichello. Just 2.6 seconds now behind Ralf Schumacher as we take another look at the spin of Jarno Trulli. Barrichello going faster than Ralf Schumacher that last lap by 0.2 of a second. He's eating into the advantage. Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen are 4th and 5th, and they're lapping some 1.3 seconds a lap slower than that battle for 2nd and 3rd place as Eddie Irvine comes out of the pits.
Yes, Irvine, the only remaining Jaguar, of course, De La Rosa out of the race on the first lap. Irvine was running strongly in 8th. He's on the softer Michelin tyres, the only team to run those of the Michelin runners, and quite clearly is on a 2-stopper this afternoon. So Montoya then 7.4 seconds ahead of Ralf Schumacher. Barrichello just 2.6 seconds further down the road.
Lap 14 of the German Grand Prix, and Mika Häkkinen in trouble. Mika Häkkinen slowing down. Fluid coming from the back of that car. The McLaren mechanics look like it's all over. He thinks it's all over. It definitely is. And Häkkinen out of what was 5th place in the German Grand Prix. His rotten luck in 2001 continues, Martin.
Yes, it does indeed, and we saw a lot of fluid coming out of the side pod of the car Mika knows there's a little back road into the back of what is actually the paddock rather than the pits. He could have turned left there and actually gone into the pit lane. He's chosen to go to the route that takes him somewhere near his motorhome and his civvies that he'll be jumping into anytime soon, because Hakkinen quite clearly out of the Grand Prix. And well, it's not looking good for McLaren at Mercedes-Benz this afternoon. They've got 2 BMWs in front of them. They're just 100 miles from their home, 100 kilometers from their home in Stuttgart, and it's a miserable afternoon so far.
Yes, Mika Hakkinen's 6th retirement of this season. Ted Kravitz, what can you tell us?
Yes, James, actually down here in the McLaren pit, the mechanics had moved all their chairs that they sit on during the race while they're waiting for them to do their bit in the pit stops. They've moved them out of the way. Thought Mika was going to be able to make it back to the pit, but wasn't. Heads dropped. It just, you know, another one of those things. Hakkinen out of yet another motor race this year.
Ralf Schumacher responding to the challenge from Barrichello. He's gone half a second faster on that last lap than the Ferrari driver, as Mika Hakkinen once again disconsolately takes off his helmet. Look at the fluid pouring out. Is that a whole radiator?
Yeah, the radiators are situated there. It certainly looks like water, doesn't it, rather than it's not oil, and it certainly will not be fuel, because that's tucked in a rubberized tank right in the back of the driver's seat in the center of the car. So I would assume that is some kind of connector or failed radiator there for Mika Hakkinen, and Ralf Schumacher really on it once again on this lap. It's Montoya you're looking at now, that he was 8.3 seconds ahead last time over the start-finish line, and Ralf trying to find a bit more pace. His teammate very much outperforming him in the first third of this Grand Prix.
He certainly is, and BMW certainly outperforming Mercedes. The battle for German honour between the big car constructors. The big lock-up there for Ralf Schumacher. You can see Rubens Barrichello's head bobbling around there. Just what Martin was saying before about how bumpy this track is. There's Michael Schumacher. That's the margin between them, 9.2 seconds. Schumacher clearly driving for the points this afternoon and keeping Coulthard behind him. He's currently 10.5 seconds ahead of his nearest championship challenger. We'll see him any moment now. There is David Coulthard.
Yeah, he's losing about 1.8 seconds per lap to the leaders. The fuel flap won't be helping that, but it certainly won't be much more than a tenth or two around this lap, I would guesstimate. And then that must be for Rubens Barrichello. They must be, yes, it is indeed. Barrichello in then at the end of the 17th lap. So Barrichello, the first pit of the afternoon, scheduled stop.
Bang on target for a two-stopper. Rubens Barrichello comes in. He's going to take on about 50 kilos of fuel, and he should be stationary for about 8.3 seconds. What's he doing? Oh, well, I think the clock was a bit out there. Bang on target for a two-stopper. So we now know that our hunch was right. Rubens Barrichello should filter back in again around about... Oh, it's difficult to tell. It's quite competitive there. He seems to be behind the McLaren of David Coulthard, so in which case he's filtered in 6th place.
Well, that means it's working out well for him then, doesn't it? I mean, they've now both got to stop one more time, and we know that Barrichello's got the faster car, so that is looking pretty healthy for Ferrari ahead of McLaren, but they're not going to be anywhere near these guys.
But they will be disappointed, I think, Martin. I think probably the idea there was to get him out in front of Coulthard. That would have been the game plan. They'll be disappointed. He's got all the work to do again of getting past him. But of course, one less car for Barrichello to pass this time round is that McLaren of Mika Hakkinen. As into the pits comes Kimi Räikkönen from 7th place.
Yeah, surprising how many teams have elected for the two-stopper this afternoon. Traditionally, it doesn't work here, does it? I mean, as you said, Berger did win the race like that, but only because other cars dropped out in many respects. So Eddie Irvine then in the pits again. That must be a problem for Eddie Irvine, because he's already made a stop this afternoon.
And Räikkönen, I can see the mechanics saying, no, cut the engine at the top of your screens there. So another good afternoon potentially for Kimi Räikkönen, cut short. Two cars retiring at the same time, starting to drop out a little bit now as Hakkinen walks back. Bad news for Jaguar, both of their cars out of the race. Bad news for Sauber, both of theirs too. Hakkinen, Zonta, Heidfeld and De La Rosa, the retirees. Only 18 cars running after 17 laps. And Ralf Schumacher putting the hammer down now. Sets the fastest lap of the race so far in pursuit of his teammate. Thinking about pit stops in the not too distant future. We expect them anytime between lap 25 to 30. The two Williamses at front. Montoya at the moment having the upper hand.
Jenson Button having a good afternoon. He's up into 8th place and running on the same sort of pace actually as for example, Coulthard and Panis and Koen Villeneuve, the runners that are now just ahead of him in terms of positions on the racetrack. So Jenson Button certainly having his strongest run for the Benetton team.
Good to see Jenson Button working his way back up towards the front. Story going around the paddock this weekend that the odds that you and I talked about yesterday in qualifying, Martin, of 9-1 on Montoya getting pole position. David Robertson, who is Jenson Button's manager, was telling you and I both about it. The story is he put 10 grand on it as Montoya goes past the back marker Minardi there, and made £90,000 from the bet. Not bad work.
Well done him. But I would imagine there that Montoya would grimace a little bit. Remember when he peerlessly led the Brazilian Grand Prix, only to have a lapped car, Verstappen at that time, run into the back of him, and it was just to see him pass and chop back in front of that Minardi just brought that picture back in my mind. So we have seen this man, well, this is Ralf Schumacher, of course. We have seen Montoya able and comfortable to lead a Grand Prix, even in his first season of Grand Prix racing, and he does seem to have the confidence and the mental strength to do that. And this then is Barrichello, who has pit stopped once, up behind the sole remaining McLaren of David Coulthard. They are currently then 4th and 5th.
Yes, this is a battle, and Ferrari will want, you see the crowd on their feet, willing the Ferrari on, or possibly willing the McLaren on with that Mercedes power plant. They have a huge following here in Germany, Mercedes-Benz. Ferrari, though, will want Rubens to give David Coulthard a very hard time, because he's the main championship rival of Michael Schumacher, with 27 laps of this Grand Prix remaining. This is lap 18.
But it's strange, isn't it? We're 100 kilometres, 60 miles from Stuttgart, the main base of Mercedes-Benz, as you watch Bertie. He's having an exciting afternoon. He's been upside down once. He's in another car and recovering there from a spin by the looks of it. He's currently running in 10th place, though. We've had a lot of retirements, of course. Add to that list definitely Raikkonen and Irvine, and Louise is with Mika Hakkinen.
Yeah, Mika, we could see some kind of fluid coming out of your car. What was the problem, a whole radiator?
Well, disappointing, obviously. We were going well. Even we were running that time, I think we were 5th running that time, but I was very confident with the car that where we can bang a good result into today. I was looking for finishing a podium, maybe 3rd, maybe 2nd, never know, but just a lot of vibration. Suddenly arrived from behind me, a lot of smoke, and I lost the drive, and engine just stopped.
Thanks, Mika.
David Coulthard defending his corner heavily there, and that's where we saw Barrichello pass earlier in the race when he had a lighter fuel load, and Coulthard really seemed helpless down the straights, didn't he, with the Ferrari in his slipstream. And despite having knocked the wing off that car, they're just not fast enough in a straight line.
These two were wheel to wheel in the early stages as Rubens Barrichello put a move on David Coulthard. He's looking to do it again. Turn 1 is not really the place, but he'll be biding his time, thinking about the tight chicanes at the end of the long straight here. The first chicane, they'll be braking from over 200 miles an hour down to 60 miles an hour, and that might just be the place for Rubens Barrichello to go for a rematch with David Coulthard. Strange to see, though, that Coulthard is still a lamb to the slaughter, because they're carrying roughly the same fuel. If not, Barrichello would actually be carrying a little bit more fuel. In fact, on a two-stopper, Coulthard getting very leery, though.
And that's what you hear David Coulthard talking about. He said, I don't like the balance of the car. It's too oversteering the chicanes. That's what he means when the back end is stepping out. He struggled on that in qualifying. He was blistering his tyres. Barrichello trying to go the long way around, and David just squeezing him gently one more time. This is a good scrap. These two go back a long way, back into British Formula 3 when they were head-to-head for that championship. Barrichello taking that Formula 3 championship from David Coulthard. But you can't help but looking at it, it's not very scientific, but looking at it, there doesn't appear to be a big difference in the rear wing level, although there are many other aspects that are to do with drag of the car. Whoa. And look how close, look how hard Barrichello can punch out of those chicanes and make up that distance already before he gets into the slipstream.
It's not just Coulthard's car that's been struggling. This is a rematch exactly of what happened before. And once again, Barrichello goes around the outside of the Sachs curve, and he is absolutely flying this afternoon, Rubens Barrichello. A real point to prove the German fans here, the Ferrari legions. They love it, absolutely love it. Rubens Barrichello then up into 4th place. Still leading is Montoya after 20 laps. Ralf Schumacher second, 9.2 seconds behind his teammate. Michael Schumacher now 27 seconds adrift of the Colombian, and Coulthard still having terrible problems to get that car pointing in a straight line out of the corners. And Barrichello 4th and Coulthard 5th. Here it is again.
Now this is the 3rd chicane. This is the beginning of the move, and Coulthard running raggedly round the outside, really desperately trying to find some grip, and Barrichello able to keep a neater, tidier line, just punch out of the corner. And well, this is a brave move here, no doubt about it. You're risking, you're relying on the guy on the inside, not just giving you a little tag and sending you off into the gravel trap.
I remember you saying a while ago, Martin, this is a blind bend as well when you come into the stadium. It's very difficult to see, so you're committing yourself to a line round the outside of a corner you can't see.
Yeah, you've been honking through the forest for best part of a minute, and not an awful lot going on apart from the occasional big stop, and all of a sudden the trees disappear and you come into this stadium area, and that corner always catches you by surprise. Now, it doesn't matter how many times you go around it, and it is a difficult corner to see as somebody sort of almost switches the lights on and takes the trees away. And the race leader Montoya then coming up to lap 13th place, Bernaldi in the orange arrows, and he will do that easily then up into the 1st chicane, and he will also be grimacing one more time. I'm lapping an arrows, please do not run into the back of me. I can win my 1st Grand Prix this afternoon.
Montoya coming here, of course, off the back of 2 races where his teammate Ralf Schumacher refused to let him through. French Grand Prix, Ralf Schumacher said the radio wasn't working. British Grand Prix, he said, I'm not moving over. Patrick Head of the Williams team said, well, maybe we would have made a place up. You see again the move of Barrichello. And I can tell you that the Williams pit crew are out ready for one of the 2 drivers. We don't know yet which one it'll be. That's the Ferrari boys celebrating Barrichello's bravery, but we're about to have our first Williams pit stop. And it's coming up shortly on lap 21. A strange time to be making a pit stop, really. Neither fish nor fowl, neither a 2-stopper nor a 1-stopper. It might just be that they've entered the window and they think they'll just get Montoya in now, get him out safely because he's so in control of this race.
Yeah, it strikes me you're better while the track is still, they're still putting rubber down and is a little bit less green, shortening up that 1st stint. You've got a slightly lighter car on the start line as Montoya does indeed take to the pit lane. Slightly lighter car gives you a better percentage chance of getting into the 1st corner first, and then you can still make sure you're on a 1-stopper, and I'm assuming they will fuel that car now to the end of the Grand Prix.
Well, let's wait and see. There should be about 11, possibly even 12 seconds worth of fuel going in. Took a while to get the nozzle on, though. Slightly delayed start to the refueling process. The tyre men are already. It only takes 3 seconds to put the tyres on. And they've got a problem with the fuel hose. Williams have got a problem with the fuel hose. They've had to go for Ralf Schumacher's fuel hose. This is a disaster for Juan Pablo Montoya. Time evaporating. He's going to need 8, 9, 10 seconds worth of fuel. And Ralf Schumacher leads the German Grand Prix. And Michael Schumacher may well get Montoya as well. A catastrophe for the Colombian. He's out of the pit lane now. And here comes the Ferrari.
That's going to be nip and tuck when he gets around the corner. But of course, Michael then has the momentum, but he also has to stop yet. So what a disaster for in fact, that's Barrichello, isn't it? So yeah. He's dropped about 15 seconds behind Michael. That still puts him in reasonable shape. Michael still has to stop yet. So well, disaster for Montoya.
Absolutely. It normally takes about 26 seconds to make a pit stop here. That's how much time you have to take out of your race. He's lost 41 seconds in that. A disaster, but now he's got to fight back, and that is going to be worth watching.
So we've got a Schumacher 1-2 now, effectively. Ralf leads Michael by 18.9 seconds, as you can see. And surely that puts Ralf in with an easy chance then to win the Grand Prix, providing he doesn't have fuel rig problems or any other pit stop problems. I still think Montoya's got more than enough speed to beat Michael Schumacher this afternoon and take second, but that win now, all of a sudden, looking highly unlikely, you'd have to say.
Well, Montoya had a 7-second advantage over Ralf Schumacher before he came into the pit stop. I worked out why he made the pit stop then. It's because he was about to catch the Trulli-Panis-Berti battle for 10th place, and that would have taken him a long time to carve through. That's why the lead drivers are coming in for their pit stops now, and here comes the Ferrari into the pit lane.
Michael Schumacher currently second then after Montoya's drama. Can he regain the track in front of Montoya? We're looking for Montoya. Can't see him at the moment. Yes, he's coming past now, so Montoya will stay ahead. He did have a healthy lead, of course. Here Montoya does get ahead then of Michael Schumacher.
So he's into second place now, Juan Montoya. Michael Schumacher should be able to rejoin without losing too much ground. Pit stops always have such an influence on the Grand Prix, don't they? Because things can go wrong. There's always that possibility.
I think Montoya's third place. He is definitely behind Barrichello. So Montoya out into third place. Now Ralph, then, the new leader, has to make his stop this time around.
Of course, Barrichello has to make a second pit stop. He's on a two-stop strategy. Everybody else on a one. Michael slows down. Michael Schumacher has got problems. We saw it the first start. He didn't have any gears and the car... He's only just made his pit stop and something has gone catastrophically wrong. He's not pulling off the racetrack, though, which is a strange move for him. He obviously thinks he's going to get it restarted again.
I just didn't want to go onto the grass, I think, but clearly the car has failed. He's thumping the steering wheel. He really should have pulled that out of the racing line as brother Ralph then pits for his one and only scheduled stop of the afternoon. Leader Ralf Schumacher into the pits. Let's see if it works out okay for him. They had the fuel hose on first time around, but clearly no fuel was coming out of Montoya's hose. They had to go for the spare.
There's Montoya entering the stadium now. I can see him. He's behind Rubens Barrichello. Ralf Schumacher is going to regain the lead of this race. It's all turned around. It's all going off here at Hockenheim. Michael Schumacher's out. Mika Hakkinen is out. Ralf Schumacher is now leading, and we've got Bertie off again. What an eventful afternoon he's having.
And that's turn one, where, of course, he's already been in those... in that conveyor belt with the incident on the first start. So Bertie, I think you'll see him coming through the picture, just missed his braking point on the way in. It's very bumpy on the way into that corner. It is easy sometimes for the chassis to just bottom out and you just miss the turn-in basically and go straight into the gravel trap. And there's Michael Schumacher waving out. There's quite a big grandstand out there actually down at that first chicane. But unusually then we're seeing a Ferrari out of the Grand Prix. Coulthard will then be taking some points out of Michael Schumacher's World Championship lead if he can get to the end of this Grand Prix. David Coulthard is currently running in fourth position.
Well, the gap is 37 points going into this Grand Prix. If Coulthard takes the 3 points for fourth place that he's in at the moment, that gap will go down to 34 with just 5 Grand Prix left.
Jenson Button exiting the pits. He was in 7th when he made that pit stop. So Button out now then, and past him goes Trulli and Panis. So Jenson Button having, as we said, the best weekend so far of his Benetton career. Michael not looking too gutted. Of course, he has got that healthy 37-point lead, and Coulthard has yet to get to the end of this Grand Prix. What I want to see now is, will Montoya really put the hammer down? We know from what he's told us on the grid, we know from what Frank Williams has said, they're allowed to race each other. Will that now be the case? Will he set about closing whatever the gap is? We're going to find out what that gap is this time around, now that they've settled down after their pit stops. And they're
coming across the line now.
Smoking. He's smoking.
He's smoking.
You can't see it on your screen.
Montoya has blown up right in front of us, Martin. Juan Montoya is out of the race. Unbelievable turn of fortune for the Colombian driver.
Well, I mean, how quickly can it go wrong for him? Just like in Brazil, leading the Grand Prix easily and through no fault of his own, with fuel problems, with an engine problem. And remember, he only ran this car for 7 minutes this morning. He wanted to minimise the on-track time. Clearly, there's an Achilles heel. We've seen it now for ourselves. It was a blue, smoky sort of, I would guess, engine failure. I'd be surprised if it's not an engine failure. That's the pit lane. That's why you saw the car flashing through, despite having jumped over the wall there. He's crossed the pit lane, so Ralf Schumacher then leads from Rubens Barrichello by 10 seconds. And Coulthard now up into third place.
Yes, more points for David Coulthard. More points eating into the lead of Michael Schumacher in the World Championship. It isn't over yet. And Juan Montoya had another terrific afternoon, hasn't he? Through no fault of his own, he's out of this race. Michael Schumacher also out of the race, just signing a few autographs as well. His luck at this circuit has really been poor over the years. Only won once back in 1994. You think of all the years that Michael Schumacher's been competitive. Here's another look, Martin, at Montoya's demise.
I think it's our first look, really, isn't it? We just happened to see him out of the window here of the commentary box smoking, and that obviously is the right bank of the BMW V10 letting go there. And good night and thank you from Juan Pablo Montoya.
Well, this is the circuit on which a nutter walked out last year and caused chaos in the Grand Prix. It's an eventful race. It's been eventful for all of these men who are now reduced to the role of spectator. Luciano Berti, he's certainly had quite a time of it this afternoon. Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen's on the sidelines, Pedro de la Rosa, Nick Heidfeld, Kimi Räikkönen, Eddie Irvine, and of course Juan Montoya. 12 cars still running after 26 laps.
And of those cars that haven't stopped yet, third place man Coulthard, fourth place man Fisichella, believe it or not, in the Benetton, sorry, and Jarno Trulli, seventh place man. We saw him spin off earlier on. He did recover, of course, down in seventh at the moment. He's also yet to stop for fuel this afternoon. They must be coming in quite soon.
Indeed. Of course, Martin, this is one of these rare races when a lot of front runners drop out. Michael Schumacher, Mika Häkkinen, Montoya from the front-running teams. It's an opportunity for the smaller teams to fill their boots, get some points. It looks like Fisichella at the moment, Alesi there in the points. Fisichella fourth, Alesi fifth. That's Fisichella making his stop, so he'll drop him out. But he's not. He's quite a big gap over Villeneuve. He'll come back behind Villeneuve. He may just be on the fringes of the points after this stop. Nevertheless, an opportunity for all of these guys to get some much-needed points.
McLaren mechanics in the pit lane too for this man, David Coulthard. There you see it. So Coulthard in a solid third place. He was 29 seconds ahead of Fisichella, so should easily be able to retain that third place. Just down the road in front of him by 6 seconds is Barrichello, second place man. Barrichello is also yet to stop, but of course so has David Coulthard, and we've seen the Ferrari is faster this afternoon for whatever reason than the McLaren. So this is your leader then. Moving into lap 28, Ralf Schumacher, 10 seconds ahead of Barrichello. Barrichello yet to stop again, and Coulthard in for his one and only stop of the afternoon. Quite late, isn't it? At the end of lap 27 for Coulthard.
Ted Kravitz.
Yes, James, there were looks of resignation at Williams when Juan Montoya flew up. So Coulthard into the pit now ahead of me. A set of scrubbed Bridgestones on for him. Just looking at the tyres. Oh no, the fuel tank hose does go off. It's an okay one-stopper. The tyres are in a terrible state though, around 10 seconds.
I thought it seemed not too bad actually. If that clock of eight and a bit seconds of fueling seemed pretty good for me for a one-stop. Of course, he now has less distance to go to the end of the race than he has travelled so far. So, and is that smoke I just saw coming out of the back of Coulthard's car? As he may have been, may not have been, but I thought I saw just as we cut. Yes, it is. Look. Coulthard, I think that's Coulthard the other side of that bridge, out of the race. Yes, it is. David Coulthard out of the race. So often happens, James, you make a pit stop, the temperatures just rise above a critical point, you hit the rev limiter to leave the pit lane, and bang, out it goes, just like Montoya.
Well spotted, absolutely amazing. Indeed, David Coulthard is out of the race. The front runners dropping like flies. We've only got two cars from what are considered to be the established top three teams still running in this German Grand Prix, and they are Ralf Schumacher and Rubens Barrichello. Rubens in second place, just 9.9 seconds behind Ralf, but of course Rubens has to make another stop. Jacques Villeneuve is enjoying the afternoon. He's now up, promoted to a podium position in third place. Fisichella up to fourth, Panis is up to fifth, and Jenson Button, for the first time this season, is in a points-paying position in sixth place.
Now that'll be critical for Benetton to score some points. Right now, they're headed to be at the far end of the pit lane for next year when they reshuffle the pack based on championship positions. That's the stricken McLaren of David Coulthard, and that is the European Minardi of what must be no, it's Marquez. Marquez is in the pit, so Marquez having a dismal afternoon too. Norbert Haug then, both of his cars, he's the Mercedes-Benz sporting boss, both of his cars now out of this Grand Prix. And being the BMW people will be sitting on all of their crossed fingers and toes. They would like to win this race. Or maybe for the second consecutive year, this man, Rubens Barrichello, can win the German Grand Prix for his second Grand Prix victory. Ralf Schumacher leads from Barrichello. Coulthard showing third on the computer, but now out of the race. So that elevates Villeneuve into third. Fisichella is fourth. Panis is fifth. Button is now sixth. Alesi seventh. Trulli 8th and Bernaldi in 9th. Verstappen rounding out the top 10.
Lap 30 of this 45-lap, topsy-turvy, utterly crazy German Grand Prix. We've seen it all this afternoon. We've seen a first corner accident involving Michael Schumacher. We've seen a car rolling through the air. We've seen a restart. Many of the front runners have dropped out, some of them after pit stops, some of them with engine blow-ups, and it now means this man, Juan Montoya, led until his pit stop dropped him down into third place. A disastrous refueling for him, dropped him right down, and then his engine blew up, and it's meant that Jacques Villeneuve in the BAR is up in a possible podium position. It means that Fisichella in the Benetton had such a miserable season so far, is now in fourth place in a points-paying position. The second BAR of Panis is in fifth, and Jenson Button is still holding on, although in sixth place, although he's got Jean Alesi breathing all over him.
I think this is showing just how dominant Michelins are around here, the harder Michelin tyre, which the two Benetton boys are using. Look at them, they're right up with the BAR Hondas. They're fourth and sixth at the moment. BAR Honda third and fifth. And, well, if Eddie Jordan went home from the British Grand Prix feeling very, very unhappy, how's he going to feel this afternoon? This is going to launch, if they finish like this, launch the BAR Honda team ahead of Jordan in the World Championship by at least 2 points. And no sign of any points at the moment. Jarno Trulli in the sole remaining Jordan back in 8th place. So really, poor old Eddie having a dismal time of it at the moment. But no such problems for Ralf Schumacher. 11.3 seconds ahead of Barrichello. And like we know, for sure, Ralf Schumacher will have been told that Barrichello has to come in one more time. And that, surprisingly, is the BAR team getting ready for another pit stop. We're expecting Panis in this time around. So that's actually looking even better then for the Benetton boys.
Indeed it is. The BAR team have got some work to do. They're 12 points at the moment in the Constructors' Championship to Jordan's 15, so they could just do with at least 4 points this afternoon to get them ahead of the Jordan team, would put them up into 5th place in the World Championship. Amazingly, both those two teams are still behind Sauber after that fantastic season that Sauber have been having, in 4th place so far. And Benetton looking as though they might well have a real cash cow of an afternoon here at Hockenheim. We remember 1997 when Gerhard Berger made his great comeback after injury in the Benetton and won this race for the Benetton team. It's been a good track for them over the years. Michael Schumacher's won here for them, and maybe they're going to get some big points today. Here's Panis, though, in the pits. Yeah,
he was giving it plenty on the way into the pit lane as well, wasn't he? Panis knowing that he's got to stop and get back out and try and catch those Benettons if he wants to get a decent points haul this afternoon. As you said earlier on, James, this is payday for the midfield and lesser teams. When the big boys have a bad day out, then you must maximise these days. This is where you score your points and where you get all of the TV money, etc., for the following year in several millions of dollars. And Barrichello's crew waiting for him. Then he comes out of 2nd place. He is a full 59 seconds ahead of 3rd place man Villeneuve. So unless there's any major dramas, of course, Rubens will emerge clearly in 2nd place, but also clearly a long way behind the leader, Ralf Schumacher.
Rather annoyingly, he's going to have to lap the 2 arrows once again. They've gone past us, so he's got to, well, there's a delay here. Fuel hose isn't even on.
Fuel hose had to go back on again, didn't it? So similar circumstances then to Montoya, but that's still not going to compromise his 2nd place with regard to 3rd, but just puts him even further behind, of course, Ralf Schumacher.
What a breathless afternoon we've had, Martin, here in the German Grand Prix. Just shows you can never take anything for granted in this sport, can you? Someone looks like they're sailing off into the distance, and the next thing you know, they have a problem with the pit stop, the fuel hose won't go on, the engine blows up, they catch a back marker, and the whole picture just turns around.
It always, I find it curious. Look, they're looking at the fuel rig. I mean, that team like all of the teams, will spend, you know, several $100 million, the key teams, any of the big teams. And then something as silly as a fuel hose will not work. But they are supplied by a company called Intertechnique. They are delivered to the teams. The teams are allowed to clean them and check the filters and that sort of thing, but it is carefully controlled, the flow rate. Otherwise, you'd have a big advantage during the Grand Prix if you made your machine deliver its fuel much faster than standard. And quite clearly then some gremlins in those refueling rigs that makes a bit of a mockery of the situation.
Indeed it does. New rigs this season, and there were some complaints about them and testing of them before the season started. A few teams had some problems. We haven't seen those problems so far in the 11 Grand Prix, but in round 12 we've certainly seen plenty of problems on the Intertechnique rigs. Let's just take you through then the cars still running on lap 33. We look at the two arrows of Benoldi and Verstappen running line astern. We have Ralf Schumacher leading by 14.5 seconds from Rubens Barrichello. Jacques Villeneuve is third, then Fisichella fourth, Button fifth, Alesi is sixth, Panis is seventh, Trulli eighth, Benoldi ninth, Verstappen 10th, and Alonso, the last classified runner, one lap down in 11th place. And in fact, the margin between Ralf Schumacher and Barrichello now has gone through on the computer, allowing for Barrichello's lost time in that pit stop. It's now 47.7 seconds. So Ralf Schumacher, with 12 laps to go, can afford to just take it a little bit easy. We've seen one BMW engine blow up this afternoon. We don't want to see another one. Michael having a quiet Sunday afternoon chat. They'll be getting the sandwiches out next and the black coffee, won't they? Having a bit of perhaps having a game of cards.
Yeah, those marshals can dine off that for a long time, can't they? The day that Michael stopped near us and had a chat with us. But Michael will be mighty relieved that Coulthard's dropped out of the race too, of course. He was heading for probably 4 points and would have kept the championship at least. Well, it's still alive because there's still mathematically a chance, and as Michael will be only too aware, as he was heading for the barriers in Monza last week, having a huge accident during testing, that it can turn around so quickly. But Coulthard needed those 4 points today.
He certainly did, because we now have just 5 races to go in this year's World Championship, and he's still 37 points behind the German, which means he really has got to score maximum points at every single race for the remainder of the season. You just have to say that with the pace we've seen this weekend from the Williams team, that is highly unlikely. Louise Goodman's with David Coulthard.
Yes, I am indeed. David, it's really turning into a race of attrition. Do you take any consolation from the fact that Michael's gone out as well?
Not really, no. I'm not. I'm more interested in me finishing the race, first of all. So obviously very disappointed. Wasn't particularly quick in the race anyway. So much oversteer. I think I had enough for the whole grid. And I was just trying to keep the car on the island, and obviously tried hard to battle with Rubens for the first half of the lap, and then again latterly, but just weren't on the pace today.
Not been a good weekend at all for you, really, has it?
No, it's been a very difficult weekend. Balance of the car has been somewhere else, and we haven't been able to achieve it. And then obviously I was a bit worried when I saw Mika have the problem, because we've been pretty reliable all year, but obviously this is a unique circuit, and after the pit stop it was obviously just too much for it.
Thanks.
I'm travelling home with David tonight. That's going to be a bit of a grim plane journey. I think that's going to be a bit of misery, because that's not the result he needed today. But what can you do, really? You can only press the throttle pedal and keep turning the steering wheel, and if it won't keep running, not so much you can do about it. But third place man Villeneuve then, he is currently 24 seconds behind Barrichello now. That pops up on screen as I'm talking about it, because, of course, Barrichello had a very, very slow pit stop. So Villeneuve in a podium position.
Good afternoon for a number of these smaller teams. Villeneuve holding on in third place.
That'll be his second third place of the year, back at the Spanish Grand Prix. Villeneuve up on the podium once again, and of course he's just recommitted, hasn't he, to BAR for next year. Both drivers are staying at BAR, so currently they're running third, and Panis, with that second stop of his, has dropped down to 7th place.
There's another side to this as well, Martin, which is BMW Williams are chasing McLaren in the Constructors' Championship. 20 points McLaren were ahead of them in second place before this race. This will be 10 for Ralph if he can get to the finish, and that will bring that margin right down. Frank Williams and Patrick Head are determined to get second place in the Constructors this year, and I know that Ralf Schumacher is gunning for David Coulthard in the Drivers' Championship as well. The gap between them was 13 points, as we see Jarno Trulli pulling out of 8th place in the race. The gap between Ralf Schumacher and David Coulthard was 16 points going into today's race. It will be down to just 6 with 5 races to go. So McLaren certainly can't take anything for granted. Lap 35 then. Ralf Schumacher leading Rubens Barrichello. Villeneuve holding on in 3rd place ahead of Fisichella 4th, Button 5th, and Alesi in 6th place. Eight laps remaining in the German Grand Prix. James Allen and Martin Brundle with you. A very happy looking Patrick Head. 50% happy possibly. Their man Ralf Schumacher leading this race, looking very comfortable with a 49-second lead. The 50% of him which will be unhappy is the one which will be reflecting on the fortunes of Juan Pablo Montoya, who led this motor race, looked like he was going to win it, and then a sequence of events, first a poor fuel stop and then an engine blow-up, put him out of contention. And Louise Goodman can tell us a bit about Montoya's situation.
Yeah, he was indeed 100% unhappy, as you would imagine. He had actually left the circuit already without speaking to any of the journalists. He did have a quick word with Anne Bradshaw, the team press officer. None of it apparently repeatable on a family show, so I think you can judge your own conclusions from that. But I can confirm it was an engine problem that put him out of the race.
So Montoya then joining the other 12 people that are currently out of this Grand Prix. Trulli then has dropped. There's 10 runners. Trulli out, engine problem it looked like. Coulthard, engine problem. Marquez stopped in the pits. Montoya, engine problem. Michael Schumacher looked like electronic or fuel to me on the side of the road. Luciano Berti went off into the barriers in turn 1. Raikkonen, some kind of problem when he was in the pits. Same with Irvine, dropped out of the race after or in a pit stop. Hakkinen, fluid pouring out of a radiator on the left-hand side of the car. Zonta, what happened to him? That's a long time ago, isn't it? Heidfeld knocked out of the race when De La Rosa, the first retiree, smashed into the back of him at the first chicane of the second part of the race. There was a restart because there was a big accident. Michael Schumacher's Ferrari lost drive, heading down to turn 1 of the first start and was slammed into the back of by Luciano Berti. Debris all over the racetrack. They had to restart this Grand Prix.
Has been incident-packed afternoon. Plenty for the photographers, the journalists and the TV crews around here to report home about. The headlines tomorrow will scream of cars up in the air, of leaders out of the race. It's been a very eventful German Grand Prix. Martin, I have to ask you, as we have just 5 or 6 laps to go, a difficult one this, I think, imagine today. Who is your driver of the day in the German Grand Prix?
It's got to be Montoya. A great pole position. He's certainly, I think, lifted himself on a new level this weekend for his Grand Prix career and was just easily leading the race, wasn't he? The problems he had were absolutely no fault of his own. So Montoya, surely the driver of the day.
It's an indication of just how much Montoya has got his act together this season, that in the 4 races that you and I have commentated on together, he's been your driver of the day 3 times.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. But, you know, maybe Montoya stopped the silliness of having fights with Villeneuve and making unnecessary comments. Maybe he's realised that these guys that are winning Grand Prix and winning World Championships are so focused. They don't dilute their effort in any way. They just focus on what they need to do and the people around them to get the performance they need. And I think there's a new confidence level in Montoya, and Ted is down in the pits.
Yes, Martin, it really is incredible how much of a car breaker this circuit is, but it is a sign, I think, of how stressed the cars and the engines are these days. It is ironic, therefore, that Benettons, who they've got some of the least power in the pit lane with that Renault, are currently 4th and 5th. They can just keep going all afternoon. I can tell you at Williams, Ralf has just had a pit board which just says oil pump, oil pump. So there's still 5 laps for something to go wrong with that Williams.
Yeah, that'll be topping up a tank somewhere. They've got telemetry on the car. The pits will know any levels, fluid levels on the car. That's oil, water, hydraulic pressure, whatever. And quite clearly they want him to top something up or put some kind of auxiliary pump on.
You're looking at the battle, and it is a battle for 5th place between Jenson Button and Jean Alesi. Button doing extremely well to keep the Frenchman behind him. We know how hard Jean likes to charge. He's had points already this season. He's hungry for more. Button desperate to get as many points as he possibly can. It's been a very barren season for him. His teammate Fisichella is 7 seconds ahead of him, and he would dearly love to just keep exactly where he is now for these remaining 5 laps here at Hockenheim. That's Olivier Panis who's dropped down to 7th place as a result of his second pit stop. Martin, where do the teams go from here? It's been a bit of a watershed race this for a lot of people, hasn't it, this German Grand Prix? Certainly from a championship point of view, Coulthard's really got a mountain to climb. Williams look like they're really there for the remainder of the season. McLaren, they've just not been at the races all weekend. Where do they all go from here, do you think?
It's a tough call here, James, because they've got to decide whether they're going to put all of their energy and focus into next year's car now already. Most of the key teams will have those penned and underway to a large extent. So, you know, where do you put your resources? Do you put them into a season that's slipping away from you, or do you put them all into next year's car? Certainly, McLaren do have a lot of work to do, and I think it has to be said, the Mercedes-Benz engine is not as powerful as it needs to be, does not allow them to run the downforce they have to run. Ferrari appear to have a good all-round package, decent reliability, although Michael Schumacher parked on the side of the racetrack, of course. But Williams, BMW, they must be extremely happy. We're heading towards Monza, Spa, Suzuka, high downforce or high-speed circuits where you need a lot of power, and they do seem to have a great package underneath them.
The fastest speed hit this afternoon has been 357 kilometers an hour. Ricardo Zonta managed that, obviously running very low wing on that Jordan Honda. 357 kilometers an hour. Was that 225 miles an hour, roughly?
Don't know, to be honest. Zonta, I've just remembered why he went out. He was just trying to pass an Arrows, wasn't he? And tagged he said he was alongside him, but actually tagged his nose on the right rear wheel of an Arrows, and then pitted for a new nose and then had to pit again. So obviously some kind of suspension damage, I would imagine.
So let's talk a little bit about Ralf Schumacher with 5 laps to go. Is he going to win his 3rd Grand Prix of the season? He's been in Formula 1 now for 5 years. This is when he's really beginning to come into his own. He's hitting his best form with the BMW Williams team. 77 Grand Prix in his young career. And he started 4 times this year from the front row. Had a big crash on Friday, lost an awful lot of track time. He's done well to bounce back from that. You have to say he wouldn't be in this position had it not been for the misfortune of his teammate Juan Montoya for the 2nd Grand Prix of this 2001 season. Montoya been the dominant driver, led as he did in Brazil, and just like in Brazil, bad luck has put him out. There, it was an accident with Verstappen. Here, it was a refueling problem and then an engine blow-up. Nevertheless, Ralf Schumacher will take the points whichever way they come, because he's got just 4 laps to go, and this is the ongoing battle between Button and Alesi. And Button fans, I'm afraid to tell you that Alesi's got the gap down now to under a second, and Jensen's going to have to be right on his game to keep this man behind him. Have you noticed how high Button sits in the cockpit compared to Alesi? They're completely different driving positions, aren't they?
Yes, he always has, actually. I noticed that in the Williams last year. I mean, he's a taller driver than Alesi, but not to that extent. I think, obviously, Jensen likes a better view of close to the front of the car for maybe being more accurate on the curves. Jensen is a very smooth driver. I think that's to a certain extent why this Benetton hasn't necessarily suited him this year. He needs a car that needs a very gentle hand on it, and he doesn't tend to pick them up by the scruff of the neck, and maybe that's what this car's needed earlier on in the season. But Button, as you point out, very much under pressure. You can almost, if there was a little window in the front of his crash helmet, for sure you'd see the teeth of Jean Alesi gritted, trying to catch that Benetton. He's already in the points as Alesi in 6th, but he would like 2 points, I'm sure, for his 3rd point-scoring race of the season.
I'm sure when you're driving these things, Martin, you're not aware of what you're doing. You're just concentrating on driving. Do you ever catch yourself sort of snarling, or ever catch yourself doing anything strange inside the crash helmet, or breathing very hard or anything like that in situations like this?
Oh, you talk to yourself nearly all the time, and yeah, there's Michael listening to well, don't know what I'm assuming it's the race. It certainly won't be cricket, will it, or whatever, but sometimes you get out at the end of a Grand Prix and your jaws ache because you've clenched your teeth. Certainly in Monte Carlo, where you're concentrating and working so hard, and your jaws actually hurt.
Interesting you should say that. My dentist believes that the reason David Coulthard's cheeks are the shape they are is because he grinds his teeth too much. I don't know if that's true or not. We'll have to take it up with him sometime. Here's a nice super slow-mo of Ralf Schumacher locking up his left front tyre. And those Michelin tyres, Martin, have been the story, really, of this weekend, haven't they?
Yes, indeed. You'd think that the wide fronts of Michelin would hurt the straight line speed. I remember when we used to come here with a Tyrrell with a normally aspirated engine. We used to try and pump the front tyres up to reduce the bulge at the bottom of them, anything for a bit less frontal area and a narrower front tyre. Tyrrell even tried, I think, front tyres on the rear at one point as an experiment to see if they could get down these straights faster with less frontal area, but it doesn't seem to have hurt this BMW. I think aerodynamics have moved on an awful long way in that time, and the drag really is lessened and minimised by some very clever work around the front wing and the barge boards and how they control the air flowing over the car from the very tip of the nose.
More points on the horizon for Jean Alesi. He's had a good season, centre part of the season. Got a point in Monaco and 2 points in Canada. That's the two Arrows cars. They've only got 1 point so far this season. They're not going to get anything today. They've been together pretty much the whole race. Enrique Benoldi has been in front of Jos Verstappen, his more experienced teammate. And Benoldi extremely lucky still to be in this race. He had Luciano Berti vaulting over the top of him at the first stop. But it looks like Verstappen is now putting some moves on Benoldi. He wants to get past him. You can see Benoldi getting past Verstappen here.
Yeah, it's Benoldi down into the third chicane. Does he make the move stick? We assume he did, because later on we saw him ahead of Verstappen. So that's a really good scrap for 8th and 9th. They're over a lap behind, unfortunately. So they're probably best part of 5 miles behind the leader in this race. Such is the pace of Ralf Schumacher.
Staggering, isn't it? He's backed off a bit now, though. He's only got 2 laps to go. In fact, he's only got 1 lap to go at the end of this one, Ralf Schumacher. And his lap pace has dropped off into the 1 minute 47s. There's Rubens Barrichello. He'll be reasonably pleased with his afternoon's work. Started this race 6th on the grid. Managed to get himself up into 2nd place. And Jacques Villeneuve will be happy as well. He qualified outside the top 10. And it looks like he's on his way to 2nd podium of the season for the British American Racing Team. They'll go away with their heads held high. They will not overtake Jordan. Yes, they will overtake Jordan if he gets 4 points. Yes, they'll move into 5th place in the Constructors, BAR, ahead of Jordan if he finishes there.
And look at Button now. He's moved up behind Fisichella to just 0.8 of a second. Whether Fisichella was in traffic or made a mistake, I don't know. But Button then suddenly in sight of 4th place man Fisichella, and Alesi relentlessly charging them down, fighting hard with the steering wheel. Very aggressive style, Jean Alesi, almost unnecessarily aggressive. But they're then 4th, 5th and 6th. But Ralf Schumacher has left turn 1 for the final time of this Grand Prix, and still round there at the 3rd chicane. He's got the whole stadium to go yet. His 2nd place man Barrichello 50 seconds behind, although of course that's not all on track performance. Barrichello lost a good 20 seconds when the refueling rig did not function properly.
Yes, indeed, and he started a long way behind on the grid as well, and he was on a 2-stop strategy, so he's done well this afternoon, Rubens Barrichello, to give Ferrari something to take away from here. They won't be too unhappy though, because their main rival in the championship, David Coulthard, is going to go away empty-handed, and that really gives Michael Schumacher a very comfortable position. 37 points. He is in front with 5 Grand Prix to go. But today has proved, I think, that even though the championship looks like it's heading Michael Schumacher's way, we still have some extremely exciting Grand Prix racing in front of us in the remainder of this season. Anything can happen in the remaining races. Williams look like they're strong. They're going to fight back, and it's going to be great, I'm sure, between now and the end of the season.
David Coulthard was fighting to catch up with Michael Schumacher. Now he's fighting to fend off Ralf Schumacher. As you said earlier, he'll be just 6 points behind 2nd place in the championship man David Coulthard if he completes this lap and collects the full 10 points this afternoon. Just the stadium to go then.
With some Williams, Michelin, BMW circuits like Monza, Suzuka and Spa coming up, Coulthard is going to have to be at his very best to keep them behind him. It's been about Williams BMW all weekend. It was about Montoya in qualifying, and for the first 20-odd laps this afternoon, it was also about the Colombian. But right now, it's about Ralf Schumacher. The 25-year-old younger brother of the local hero wins his 3rd Grand Prix of the 2001 season. Well done to everybody at Michelin, Williams and BMW, and well done to Ralf Schumacher. A very solid drive from 2nd place on the grid, and when it counted, he was there to pick up the pieces. and Rubens Barrichello will come around in second place. There's Michael Schumacher managing even a smile because his younger brother has won yet again. He said to me, actually, Michael, the other week, that it gives him enormous pleasure when his brother wins, even though sometimes it means he doesn't win himself.
I think he's genuine about that too, by and large. So can you imagine how it must feel? You're 26 years old, you're just winning your home Grand Prix in front of this magnificent amphitheatre. Mostly Ferrari flags waving, it has to be said, and that's why there's such a din as second place man Barrichello crosses the line. His strategy this afternoon was very much to get him on the podium. It was not one to win the race with, and that's certainly mission accomplished in that respect then. So this is Villeneuve, who's just 2.1 seconds ahead of Fisichella, and Button then over the line, 5th, Alesi 6th. They're the final point scorers, and there was a total of 2.9 seconds between the lot of them.
Yes, very close indeed. And there is still the championship leader, Michael Schumacher, on 84 points. Coulthard has 47. Ralf Schumacher goes the wrong way over the chicane and makes sure he doesn't collide with Enrique Bonolda on his way out. But Coulthard 47 points, and Ralf Schumacher has overtaken Rubens Barrichello now with this victory. He moves up into 3rd place in the championship, 6 points behind. There's a great sight, isn't it? Sportsman to the last. Likes to see his brother do well. All the encouragement he gave him as a youth when he was karting. It's been a reasonable day for the Schumacher family. And in the Constructors' Championship, Ferrari, looking pretty imperious, got more than twice the points of McLaren in 2nd place and Williams in 3rd. Sauber 4th, and BAR have jumped in front of Jordan. But a very happy man, no doubt, is Sir Frank Williams. He's talking now with Ted Kravitz.
Frank, congratulations. One went bang, but one survived.
One had a problem. And Ralph drove a very sensible race when it became clear he was almost unstoppable. It was very fine performance by the team and by BMW, quite remarkable really.
Were you surprised? I mean, or did you expect it coming here to a circuit that suited your car so much?
Well, from the weekend qualifying and from the morning warm-up, we thought we'd probably ease away from the rest of the field, not as much as we didn't imagine one would disappear that quickly. But the only real worry is to finish the race. They use 73% full throttle around the circuit, which is very hard work for any engine.
So it's the 3rd win of the year. Why not one more at Monza, eh?
Well, when I was brought up, I was told never ever be greedy. It always catches you up, but one would be very nice.
Thanks, Frank.
A nice reply there from Sir Frank Williams. He must be very happy, Martin, but he's really back in business now, isn't he?
Yeah, they are. It's taken a while, hasn't it? When that flywheel starts slowing down, and all of the teams, they usually take 3 or 4 seasons to start turning it around and building it back up again, but they have some momentum now. There's no doubt about that.
It's a home win. It's a home win for Ralf Schumacher. No doubt about that either. And isn't he happy? That's his physio and the rest of the team congratulating him. There'll be some kind of party tonight, I would imagine. Willy Weber there, you just saw the manager of both Schumacher brothers. Hasn't he done well? Managed to make himself a fortune. Former hotelier. Decided when he discovered Michael Schumacher he probably didn't need to be in the hotel business anymore. And now he's discovered Ralf as well. He certainly will never be making any room service again in the future. Ralf Schumacher wins his 3rd Grand Prix of the season. There's Rubens Barrichello coming in. He's had a decent afternoon as well. The right strategy, as you said, Martin, for the Ferrari team. And Rubens picking up another 6 points. He's really been a regular podium visitor this season, adding them to his 3rd place, the Australian Grand Prix, 2nd at Malaysia, 3rd in San Marino, 3rd in Austria, 2nd in Monaco, 3rd in France, and 3rd in Britain, and again 2nd today. Pretty consistent form from a man who quite often gets written off as being the nearly man, really.
Yes, he won this race, of course, last year. We saw him sobbing his eyes out on the podium with the Brazilian flag and remembering Ayrton Senna, and it was a great moment for Rubens Barrichello and Brazilian motorsport in general. But I think he'd be moderately pleased with today. Villeneuve, I think, will be extremely pleased with his 2nd podium of the year for BAR, a team that he is more involved in than is normal with a driver. He is a fundamental part of BAR. Normally you're just in a sort of an employee type situation, and I think Jacques has more of a say in the management of BAR than most drivers do.
Just saw Fisichella there going through the shot. There's Jenson Button, got his first points of the season for 5th place. So that's 5 World Championship points in one afternoon for Benetton. It's been a long, long time coming for this team, but 5 points takes them, puts them nicely into the championship.
Yeah, it does, puts them into 7th place and ahead, amazingly, of Jaguar. I mean, Irvine was having a good run today, wasn't he? But Jaguar down there were just 5 points to their name at the moment. Not working out for them. Michael Schumacher has made it back to the pits. He'll want to see the podium procedure with his brother and see his brother before he goes up onto the podium, of course. All good TV, I'm sure. Michael looking... I mean, Michael's not going to be too upset, is he? He wasn't going to win the race, so Ralph has, and Coulthard scores no points, so that's why Michael's got a bit of a spring in his step, by and large.
There you see the championship situation. Going down through to 18th place. Only 22 drivers in Formula 1, which means that 4 have yet to score a point. Pretty good knockings for everybody. Everybody's been collecting some points throughout the season. Been spread out fairly evenly in the lower orders.
It's not quite as simple as that, because obviously you've got Zonta in now replacing Frentzen, and that you end up usually with more than that quota, more than the grid numbers by the end of the season. But only 10 finished today, 10 cars over the line, and 12 cars not making it to the end of one of the hardest, fastest but shortest Grand Prix of the year time-wise.
It's been a very eventful afternoon. First corner accidents, restarts, leaders dropping out, front runners dropping out. We lost Mika Häkkinen, we lost Michael Schumacher to mechanical failure. We lost David Coulthard as well, and Juan Montoya, the engine blow up. Taking nothing away, though, from Ralf Schumacher. There's Dr. Mario Tyson, the man who's done so much to make this BMW engine what it is. It's amazing, really, Martin. This is only their 2nd year back in Formula 1. Last time they were here was the dark ages. It was the turbo era. There's Michael Schumacher going out to celebrate his brother's success. I wonder if Ralph actually noticed him. There he is, though. They love a hometown victory. 100,000 air horn blowing, flag waving Germans. Most of them are waving red Ferrari flags, but there are more and more waving Ralf Schumacher Williams blue flags. And the German national anthem we will hear. It's a story that's sweeping the nation. The younger brother comes good. Don't they love it? Schumacher wins his 3rd Grand Prix of the season. Nice to see that Jacques Villeneuve has given up the Bilbo Baggins look and has become more clean cut. Notice he's shaved his beard off, got a nice haircut. What's becoming of him? He's got a new 19-year-old ballerina girlfriend from New York. I think that might be something to do with it, maybe. Apparently. But well, it's nice to see 3 different chassis, 3 different engines on the grid, 2 different
tyre suppliers amongst those 3 men standing on the podium. Formula One then in rude health at the moment, no doubt about it.
Certainly is. Rubens Barrichello yet to find the top spot of the podium in 2001. He's certainly been alongside enough times this season. 5 races to go though, he still could do it. There is the clean-cut, clean-living boy himself, Jacques Villeneuve. Nice to see him back up there. Many of us regret that he's been in the boonies since his '97 World Championship victory. So the champagne ceremony begins. It's been a wonderful afternoon of motor racing, high event and high drama. 3rd win of the season for Ralf Schumacher, and a few more, I fancy, before this season is over.
Thank you, James. Thanks to Martin Brundle as well. Ralf Schumacher, a big victory for him. His first podium, actually, in the German Grand Prix. Only the strong survive around here. 10 finishes. A little pat on the back to host broadcaster RTL for the quality of their coverage. Williams putting the squeeze on McLaren, and with the high-speed circuits looming after Hungary, they will fancy their chances for the rest of the season. Montoya so unlucky. Another stormer from Barrichello. There is so much. Okay, welcome back then to Hockenheim. Let me just confirm the result of the German Grand Prix for you. Now, just listen very carefully to this. If Michael Schumacher wins in Hungary in 3 weeks' time, he will be world champion once again. Confirmation of the result then. Ralf Schumacher, the winner here. 10 out of 10 for him. Rubens Barrichello, absolutely storming drive around Hockenheim again for the Brazilian. Jacques Villeneuve on the podium, great points for BAR. And look at that, the 2 Benettons after a blank season. 3 points to Fisichella, and the first 2 points of the year for Jenson Button, and Jean Alesi battling that cross round and making his point. The Drivers' Championship then, so Schumacher wins around the Hungaroring in mid-August. A 4th world title is going his way. Rubens Barrichello and Ralf Schumacher nip and tuck between them, and Ralf might just be looking at David Coulthard and saying, I've got enough time to catch you as well. Montoya so unlucky not to add to that total today. And the constructors, well, Ferrari are away and clear there, but there's a real decent scrap going on for 2nd place, where Williams are gaining ground on McLaren. BAR have moved above Jordan, who've had an absolutely miserable time here this weekend. The press conference, we're going to go down to it now to hear from the big 3 in Germany.
Congratulations, gentlemen. Ralf Schumacher, winner of his home Grand Prix in Germany. Rubens Barrichello, 2nd for Ferrari. And Jacques Villeneuve, 3rd for British American Racing. Ralf, what does it feel like to win at home?
Well, it's a great feeling. I mean, I've always had a bit of bad luck here. I've never really finished in a good position, and I mean, to be here today in a German package to win the race in Germany is a great feeling.
Now, soon after Juan Pablo Montoya, your teammate, had his problem in the pits and you took the lead, he then went back out and his engine blew up. Did the team then tell you that this had happened and to watch everything and perhaps slow down if you had to, or did they just say, keep racing?
Well, already before that weekend, we knew that we are on the tight side with the engines. So when after the race, when Pablo pulled away, I was, you know, I thought, okay, you know, you do whatever you want to, and I started to save engine already because I know how long and how hard that race is, obviously, to engines, and it paid off at the end. And after this, the team told me as well, you know, slow even more down, and then it was easy because Rubens couldn't push anymore, so it was a perfect scenario for us.
Thank you very much, Ralf. Rubens, you started the race on a 2-stop strategy. Do you think it was one that could ever have produced a race win here today?
Well, I mean, thinking that the 2 Williams were on another level, I think the best of what I was hoping for, or what I could achieve, was 3rd, basically, because they were really fast. So I think it paid off, to be honest with you, because I was the only one on their pace to start with, and I took a long time to overtake David. It was a fair race, but I think it was a little bit too close, and he was losing time as well, so I don't know what he was playing, because, you know, we both wanted to go forward and we were losing like 3 seconds a lap, And so I was hoping to finish well. I mean, if Michael was there, I don't know what I could, I would have done it. But it's, in any case, I think it was everything I would hope for.
But talking of your overtaking manoeuvres on David, you took past him twice, and both times around the outside into the stadium. How confident were you that you could take that line and still get through the corner?
Well, we know each other since the phone 3 times, so it's. I think we have a respect on each other. It's not the fact of going on the outside. It's that, you know, he left just that side for me, and in a way he was one up on me because of Silverstone last year. So I needed to go on the outside.
Rubens, thank you very much. Jacques, your second podium of 2002, but you started outside the top 10 today. You completely surprised?
I am surprised to be in the podium. I was hoping to get in the points, and I thought we'd need a little bit of luck to get in the points. But to get in the podium today is great. We weren't very competitive all weekend, but this morning, surprisingly, in the warm-up, after a few changes on the car was really, really competitive with fuel on board. So we knew we had a chance to do a good race, and the 2 starts went well. But then Olivier, being on a different strategy than us, was going a lot faster, and when he got close to me, then I let him by so he could play with Jarno a little bit. And what I was hoping happened. Jarno went off, so then I was just trying to stay in Olivier's toe so he could carry me along.
Now, talking of the start of the race, Jacques, obviously we had 2 starts today. What did you see of the incident at the first one, where Michael Schumacher seemed to be very slow off the line?
I didn't see what happened, but I was surprised when there was a red flag, because we already went through the debris once. By then the track was cleaned, so the most dangerous moment of the race is actually the start, so I was actually really, really surprised.
So, man, as always, I think Villeneuve, one of the few people surprised when the race was red flagged with all that debris on the circuit. Anyway, Tony, let's take a look back, shall we, at the start of this German Grand Prix, and I mean, all sorts of stuff flying about, and Michael Schumacher really almost stopping and causing it.
Yeah, he had to give us probably the most difficult and dangerous time of a race, and it's like an airplane, isn't it? It's the takeoff and it's the landing, and that just shows how easily it can happen. And that shades of '89 there, when Gugelmin did exactly the same thing over the top of Nigel Mansell and survived quite well. Here it is from another angle. It's when the driver is unsighted like that because he's busy, he cannot see, believe me, the back of the car there. He's busy changing position, whoops, and up he goes. Now, if that had happened 2 years ago, and Bernoldi's very, very lucky, as we've said, because the car went over the top of him, if that would have happened 2 years ago even, the side impact, the top impact tests that the FIA have imposed, then perhaps there would have been some damage to the driver as well, and he might not have walked away from that one. And, you know, we've had other accidents, even like '82, when Paletti went into the back of Pironi, and unfortunately then the driver perished, but that's a long time ago. Safety now is paramount, and it is great to see drivers survive it. It's great to see the camaraderie between Michael Schumacher, concerned about a fellow member there. Grand Prix Drivers Association, very strong as well, led by Schumacher and Coulthard and Trulli.
It is actually the nightmare scenario for a crash, isn't it? Because they're all pedal to the metal, absolutely going for it, and you're not going to expect to run into something as poor Bertie did there.
And also, the tyres have a certain amount of temperature in them as well. And when you hit the back of another tyre, the tyres fuse together, and that helps the launch pad even more. You can imagine what is going through the driver's mind. But also, you know, we have a situation where inside the cockpit, where the FIA have said in the safety cell there is even more padding as well around the driver. There's a seat that's moulded to them as well, which helps to minimise some of the damage to the driver.
Villeneuve wasn't happy about a restart, but I think we all felt the race had to start again.
We were saying here, as we were sitting and watching the debris that was on the track from that, there was no way. I think that Charlie Whiting and Herbie Blash absolutely right to red flag it after that, because there could have been punctures. And again, you know, when the restart happened, this was relatively clean. But here's this man, Barrichello, right at the beginning, being aggressive now, and also the power and speed of the Ferrari. Just look at this. Look at Schumacher. He went past both the McLarens then, and Barrichello followed quite soon after that.
OK, Tony, thanks for the moment. Anyway, a lot more for us to talk about. We hope to have a word with Jenson Button as well when you rejoin us. You're back with us reviewing the German Grand Prix won by Ralf Schumacher. Now, Tony, Ralf the big winner here today, but a big tick, I think, for Rubens Barrichello, who won here last year in such emotional circumstances.
I just think that Barrichello was aggressive from the start. You know, he made so many moves, even the one with Coulthard, which we really enjoyed. Fabulous passing and repassing. And he was just on it the whole time and so committed. And I think the other story of this whole race is that all the rest of the runners in the field knew the power of the package of BMW, of Michelin and Williams together. They'd almost conceded before they started, so much so that Michael said, I've just got to watch where Coulthard is. And unluckily for David, he went out when he could have scored some more points.
It's been a long time coming. Jenson Button has a couple of World Championship points under his belt at last, and Jenson is going to have a chat to us now. Well done, Jenson.
Thank you.
A long wait. A bit of a shock to you that it's come here?
A slight shock, but again, we've been good all weekend. I mean, it hasn't been points finishes, but we've been looking quite good, and you know, the consistency of our car and the reliability has really helped us here. So we're here finishing 5th and 4th, which is great for the team, and we really need it as well at the moment.
Have there been times when you've doubted your own ability a bit this season?
No, of course there hasn't been, but it's been difficult. I knew there was problems, and also in myself I had to learn new things in the car, which I found difficult at certain times. But it's good to get this result, more for the mechanics and all the people that work so hard behind the scenes and everything. So it's good for everyone.
Let's just talk about the race, Jenson. Were you involved in the smash at the start at all?
No, I saw Bertie's car behind. I could just see the wooden plank of the car in my mirrors, which was pretty scary. But the good thing is he was okay and able to get out there again. As you can see, these things are pretty strong. And you ran nip and tuck with your teammate Giancarlo Fisichella for quite a while, didn't you? And he got past you. We didn't actually see that. What happened there? I was at the start. I got a good start. I think he got blocked in, and the good thing was that we were running with cars that we weren't expecting to be. For example, the BARs and the Jordans. It really proves, you know, our tyres seem to be working well. I think the Michelins are, and also the car was very reliable and up to speed. It was good to see and great to feel. It's so much, you know, it's a much better feeling when you're able to race with cars like that. It's very different for you, this one, compared to the one that you had at Williams. Are you learning along the way? Yeah, definitely. I've learned a lot this year. You know, and it's been a tough year for me, but it's, you know, it's getting better. We're still going to have tough races, I think, but I've learned a lot, and hopefully that can show over the rest of the year and also next year. But the best thing to get a 5th place here is, I mean, last year was a 4th place, and we've almost got the same finish. So hopefully the rest of the season will be the same. Everybody's taking a 3-week break now, Jenson, after what's happened to Heinz Howard Frentzen. There are 1 or 2 people on shifting drivers all over the place, really. Can you give us any steer on where you might be next season? Oh, next season? I thought you meant next week. Next week I'll be on holiday, and nobody's allowed to phone me at all. But next season, yeah, I'm at Benetton next year. That's what my contract says, and that's where I want to be at the moment. So that's where I am. Good. Enjoy your holiday, Jenson. Well done. Congratulations on the couple of points. Thank you. Okay, one of the main movers in that team is Mike Gascoigne, and let's have a little word with him now after Benetton's best day of the year.
Mike, I saw you just before the race. You said to me, different place but same blank, but it all turned around for you, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great race. Great boys did a great job, and both drivers did a fantastic job. I had a bet with the chief mechanic who said we'd score points today, and he bet me 20 quid, so I think I better go and pay him.
How much do you owe him? I'll
pay him quite a lot, I think. For
You were betting against your own cars, were you?
He said we'd score points, and I didn't think we could, but it was a great performance. The tyres were very, very good, and apart from Giancarlo's little mistake at the end, both guys didn't put a foot wrong.
Bit of a lucky day for you as well?
Well, you make your own luck in the end, don't you? We've had to endure quite a lot. I mean, it's a tremendous result for Renault. They've had so much criticism over the engine. This is a power circuit. OK, we needed some people to drop out, but we got 2 cars to the finish. We've had lots of criticism about the reliability, and we've come home 4th and 5th, so it's something to enjoy.
Well done.
Thanks very much.
Very pleased for Benetton, who've taken a bit of a slapping throughout the season. Very sad for Juan Pablo Montoya, who seemed to have the race won, didn't he? And the first sign, really, that things were going wrong for Montoya was his pit stop.
Yeah, there'd also been a slight problem, if you remember, at Silverstone when Ralf Schumacher went slightly ahead and stretched the wires when he stopped. But this was a problem with the rig, and they had to switch clearly to Ralf Schumacher's fuel rig, which cost him an enormous amount of time. But we didn't really have time to talk to Gerhard Berger about it when he was here, the BMW competitions director. But he said last week to his drivers, we're not going to win the World Championship in 2002 even, because we're not ready. And one of the areas that we're not ready is in the pits themselves. We're too slow, we're losing valuable seconds, we're losing reliability with the car, as we can see by one engine going, as you can see by in the pit stop there. It's not really the boys' fault, you know, at all. It's gelling everything together to make a winning team, and potentially they could take the title next year, but not like that.
It looked for a little while as though Michael Schumacher might luck into a few points, and he would have lucked into them once again, and then he ground to a halt. That's an unusual sight this season. It's
unusual. That's two Ferraris that have failed because, you know, his race car had a gearbox problem. This has got some sort of problem. I was a bit sad that Michael hadn't actually got the car off the track there and out of the way at such a high-speed track. But this is his bogey track, isn't it now? He won here in '95, and now Ralph's won here once as well. You must think, what have I got to do to try and win in front of my home fans, you know, at Hockenheim?
Absolutely. We can find out exactly what Michael Schumacher thinks about his failure here today as he chats to Ted Kravitz.
No room for this.
Michael, bad luck, I suppose. You can't win them all.
This is true, and I wasn't expecting to be a winner, but would have been nice to score another 6 points. So we could have finally done it in Hungary, but like that we have to wait a bit longer.
Bit of a crazy race it was. Was it any consolation David didn't score too?
It was an up and down race in terms of emotion, but not too high on the other side because it is not a decider race for the championship anyway. But on the other side, even being not finishing, we did go another step towards the championship, which is good as well.
I suppose you might have had a feeling that Ralf would have been the winner today.
Certainly. I mean, seeing Ralf and Rubens up there, it makes up for some of the disappointment.
By our mathematics, a win in Hungary for Michael Schumacher. It is world title number 4. Juan Pablo Montoya going for his first F1 victory after the pit stop was to follow as well.
Well, there's this question mark about reliability, performance on the track. Poor Juan Pablo Montoya, he's had the lion's share of the retirements this year. He's had hydraulics, he's had electrics, he's had collisions, he's had 2 crashes. And now when he's starting to get his act together in qualifying, really, really learning the art of complete Formula One, the reliability problem hits him and this cruel luck hits him, which is why he's gone off without talking to anybody. He's an angry young man, and quite
I think, in fairness, what he said was unprintable. He said a few things before he left, but I'll leave that to your imagination. David Coulthard a bit more reflective after what happened to him here today, but the McLaren's never on the money throughout the weekend, really.
No, I think David has lost out here because he didn't test in Monza, which is a high-speed place where you can test and you can really replicate the conditions here at Monza. His tyres, the car was chewing the tyres. He never had the right setup. And just when he needed the luck to stay in there, you know, after Michael Schumacher had retired, his bad luck comes back and really hits him. The strain after that pit stop, and everything seemed to let go. And unfortunately, with Hakkinen out as well, and all the Mercedes top brass here, it's not good for McLaren when they've made some leeway after Silverstone, especially the win.
Luciano Berti had an interesting afternoon. Didn't he? Involved early on and then here.
Well, see, the thing is, what happens, Jim, is after a big crash like that, I'm sure Luciano Berti will have had to have seen Professor Watkins, the FIA medical delegate. They have to say their name, they have to count through the numbers. But you'd have to say that his equilibrium had gone. He was spinning off all over the place, and he's had some big incidents here this weekend. It'll be a weekend to forget for him, but thank goodness he's perfectly okay.
One of the great sights of this Grand Prix right at the end, the Frenchman Jean Alesi battling to make his point. He did it okay, and then he chatted to Louise Goodman.
Jean, congratulations, you got a point, but by the look of you, you really had to work for it.
Yeah, I'm really pleased for the final result because at the start we have some problem with the first gear, really too long. At the first start I saw my teammate flying in the air and I was a bit shocked. But I'm pleased to have this point because for sure it will be very heavy for the future of my team.
And what about your future? Because there's all sorts of talk circulating in the paddock this weekend.
Yeah, it's true. But today it's a day of happiness. I will explain something a little bit later on.
You don't look very happy. I mean, last time we saw you getting points, you were jumping up and down.
I'm happy for them. Thank you.
Unusual interview that, and does that mean next time we see him in Hungary he'll be wearing the Jordan livery?
Well, you know, we bring you these hot rumours from time to time, but that's why I arrived back in the studio. Slightly sweaty.
Not a hot story, not exclusive, a hot rumour. I've heard that before, yeah.
and that's why I came running back into the studio just before the start, because the Italian press are convinced that Jean Alesi is going to take the place of Heinz-Harald Frentzen in the Jordan for the remainder of the season from Hungary onwards. Well, who's going to fill the place at Prost? Could it be Frentzen? We don't know. But certainly there's a great bond between Alesi and Eddie Jordan, because they were Formula 3000 champions together in '89, and Eddie's tried to get him in the car lots and lots of times.
In fairness to Eddie Jordan, we all felt he would have something in store that would explain what he's done to Heinz-Harald Frentzen, but judging by the way they've gone here, Mr. Alesi would be very welcome.
Well, this was Ricardo Zonta, and we have said that he hasn't really covered himself in glory. 15th on the grid wasn't good enough, and despite the fact that the arrows of Verstappen in front of him had come out of the chicane quite slowly, and he got a bit too close. It's up to the car behind. This is the result. You know, and ultimately he goes out of the German Grand Prix. Now this one was quite amazing of Trulli, because he'd been having a fabulous dice with Panis and Villeneuve behind them, the 3 Honda-powered cars. Trulli, such a great racing driver, made a very basic mistake there, trying to get back at Panis, who just got past him, and you saw that elementary mistake on a spin.
Just your final thoughts, Tony, as we enter this little break in the season?
Well, I think it's great for everybody to have a break and regroup and recharge their batteries first of all. But Michael Schumacher will be upset that he's not that bit closer. He's still got a way to go. And there's a little chink of light in the tunnel for David Coulthard. You never know.
It's a very little chink of light. Thanks very much indeed, Tony. I must give you the result of the competition. Remember we asked you, it was a pretty simple one, who won last year's British Grand Prix? And David Coulthard, the answer. And the big winner, the winner of the brand new MGZR Sports Saloon, is Mr. C. Hindley from Manchester. Well done to you, sir, and you will join 10 runners-up, having a day out at Thruxton as well as enjoying that new motor. Highlights tonight of the German Grand Prix at 11:45, and the show repeated, as always, tomorrow night, ITV2 at 7. And you're back with us at Hockenheim, where we saw a huge shunt at the start of the German Grand Prix. 12 drivers failing to complete the course. The BMW Williams, the class of the field. Montoya robbed of a first F1 victory by a mechanical failure. Victory, though, claimed by his teammate, Ralf Schumacher.
I'm delighted. It was a great result for the team today, and well, I'm hoping we have quite a few of that till the end of the season.
It really was a crushing victory, over 50 seconds over the next place man.
It was, although it didn't start very well. I must say Juan was in the first half was stronger than I was. He pulled out a gap. By that time I had a few problems with my brakes, and I must say car, I think the first set of tires wasn't as good as well, so I decided basically just to save fuel and engine because I knew that it was tough for the engine here.
It was a hard one, but a fair. I just, you know, I said before, I think at that time in the race we should have been thinking forward, not to be fighting against each other. Of course, we don't race for the same team. It's we don't want to let it by, but I was 2 seconds faster at that stage, so I was going to overtake him eventually. So I think we were losing too long, basically. I was doing 42 highs, he was doing 44s, and then fighting we were doing 46s. So we were losing quite a big amount of pace compared to people. But at the end of the day, it was fair. We know each other, we respect each other, and I just had to gamble and go for it. My car was faster and I had to gamble.
Nice to be up on the podium again?
Yeah, it was a fantastic feeling, looking all over again for the same public, and you know, it is just a joke, but I was there thinking of last year. I said, no, hold on, don't cry.
Well done, Jacques. It says lucky on your overalls. You were a bit lucky today, weren't you?
Well, we've had so much bad luck this year that, you know, the few times where we have luck, I think the balance is still on the bad luck side, so we still got some good luck coming.
How did this one compare to Spain?
Well, we were more competitive here. The car was a lot better. I could drive it hard, where in Spain I was just trying to survive, and Häkkinen broke down on the last lap, so there was a lot more luck involved in Spain.
Michael, bad luck, I suppose. You can't win them all.
This is true, and I wasn't expecting to be a winner, but would have been nice to score another 6 points. So we could have finally done it in Hungary, but like that we have to wait a bit longer.
And so it's a Schumacher success in Germany. Ralph, not Michael. Barrichello having another Hockenheim stormer. Villeneuve on the podium for British American Racing. Then Fisichella and Jenson Button, the Benny boy's best result of the season. A lacy 6. It could just be his last drive for Prost. The buzz is he'll replace Frentzen at Jordan. No change at the top of the Drivers' Championship. And if Michael Schumacher wins in Budapest, he is world champion again. Ralf Schumacher overtaking Barrichello. As you were, though, for Hakkinen and the unlucky Montoya. Ferrari miles clear in the Constructors. Barrichello scoring 6 today. But Williams closing in on McLaren, and they might just fancy their chances on the high-speed circuits coming up. BAR, though, relegating Jordan to 6. Tony Jardine, let's have a look at the start of this German Grand Prix.
A very dangerous time, Jim. You know, as I've said before, you know, it's like an aircraft at takeoff and landing time, and this might get Michael Schumacher to call for guards over the rear wheels, because that is what can happen. That happened to Luciano Berti, launching himself over the back of Michael Schumacher's Ferrari, nearly collecting Bonaldi at the same time. The Ferrari having difficulties with its gearbox. Great survival story, fortunately for us and for Grand Prix racing, because of the increased safety structure around the driver. The safety cell now, it's insisted here from another angle. Look at it, unsighted driver. He can't see. This is what can happen. It's happened before. Paletti did it in '82. Gugelmin did it over Mansell in '89. And Paul Ricard, a concerned Michael Schumacher, sorting out Bertie and making sure that he is okay.
Great credit to Formula One safety that everybody emerged unscathed from that. But De La Rosa sat in his car before the race was restarted. His mind might have been elsewhere, Tony.
I think it was, you know, and he was the fastest starting Jaguar in 9th. By his own admission, he totally lost his braking. It's very dangerous circuit. You go from very high speeds to very slow speeds, most of these chicanes in first gear. But look at the way the Ferraris sliced through past the McLarens. That was the start of it. And look at, there you go, Pedro de la Rosa, loads of tyre smoke there as he went in the back of German Nick Heidfeld out of his home race.
Martin Brundle picked out Juan Pablo Montoya as his driver of the day. There's a strong lobby for Rubens Barrichello in this particular room.
Well, yeah, we were both highly impressed. He was good. He was on a two-stop strategy, but look at him. You know, even off the start here he was, along with Michael Schumacher there, and going through the McLarens there, and Rubens was aggressive, he was measured, and then when he was chasing his old adversary, David Coulthard, who remembers British Grand Prix in the year 2000, round the outside of him, coming into the stadium, very, very fast, 190 miles an hour. He sticks with it, and he got past David, and he got up onto the podium in 2nd place. Well done, Rubens.
Michael Schumacher causing that accident at the start. Another miserable experience for him at the German Grand Prix.
I'm afraid so. A real bogey track for him. He's only won here once, and that was in 1995. Now, could this be the start of a bad patch for him? Last year he had 3 on the trot in Germany and Austria and France, but perhaps it's coming too late for poor David Coulthard, because he should have been there to capitalise on the 3-times world champion going out, but unfortunately, you know, David went out as well.
It looked all set up for the Colombian Montoya, so confident, driven so well, and then things happened for him.
Yeah, well, this is Gerhard Berger, who's BMW competitions director, said we've got to get it right in the pits. There was a problem with the hose. They had to switch from Montoya's hose onto Ralf Schumacher's hose. Already his cause was lost, and then a little bit later on, running at nearly 70% full throttle on this tortuous circuit, it really, really puts a strain on every component on the car. Bang goes the BMW V10. And poor Juan Pablo, who I really think is getting it together so well and is going to be beating Ralph, I think, regularly towards the end of this year, was out.
He'll win soon, for sure. Stormed out of Hockenheim, muttering things to himself. David Coulthard was a bit more relaxed, because this can't have been totally unexpected what happened to him in the race.
No, he had to pull out of the Monza test, which replicates this very fast circuit here with food poisoning. The car wasn't right all weekend. It was chewing its tyres. He had a lot of oversteer. And unfortunately, very, very slim chances for David.
Heck of a race, though.
Fabulous race. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much indeed, Tony. 3 weeks' time, we go to the Hungaroring in Budapest. The full ITV service for you throughout the weekend. Qualifying 11:30 on the Saturday. Pre-race show from just after midday on the Sunday. Highlights 11:50 and repeated ITV2 on the Monday at 7. So we take a 3-week breather. When we get down to business, once again, Michael Schumacher will be looking for one more victory to restore family order and become world champion again. Good night to you all.
If you'd like to know more about Formula One, the website address sponsored by Foster's is www.itv-f1.com.